Today I'm reminded of a time when I was in the old Army of the US of A, and how easy life was back then. Essentially, you have a personal trainer, you know, making you get up every day and go for a run, push ups, sit ups, and all those other, fireman carries and craziness that you got to do day to day. And, going down to the old motor pool and people telling you what you needed to do. Got to change the oil, you got to, check them bolts, get the maintenance done on things. Even tell you how to tie a tie and, how to pack your bags. And, you basically have a coach, like a life coach, all the time in one form or another. Even when you're out at the unit, you still kind of have that lifestyle. And then you get out and you forget all that. But that's okay. That's what the Mailman Podcast is for. To ask those questions so you can be a manly man once again.
Mailman Podcast coming to you. Man coming to you. Talking about man stuff on the internet. If you don't like it, you can go to hell. Mailman Podcast coming to you. Man coming to you. Ooh.
Yeah. All right. Well, I don't have him on screen yet, so I'm just going to go ahead and get to it so we can go and start talking. But yeah, welcome to the Mailman Podcast. I'm your host, Dick Colin, and let's get into it. I've got a special guest today, Benny the Bogey Burrito, and let's just bring him on with a song.
To another man, we call it a man discussion with men and religions.
All right, let's see if the head moves there. Say something. All right, we're in business. We're a little bit smaller today because I made a new template so we can use the background there. But so let's check some things. Can you hear this on Zoom there? Like when like through your speakers there? Really? Damn it! All right. Oh, okay, yeah. There's no music anymore. Okay. All right. Well, I guess that settles that. But so thanks for coming on. And today we're going to talk about a bunch of manly stuff, as we discussed beforehand. In the Army, like I said before, you just kind of already have everybody telling you what to do and how to do things, and not a lot of people like continue that process. I think. So that's kind of what I want to go into with you, in particular with like cars, and maybe we'll get into the ladies, but we'll see. Get in there.
One thing the Army doesn't provide you, the ladies.
Yeah, right.
But it gives you everything else you need to be successful.
Yeah, they do give you everything else to be a man. I gotta turn this monitoring myself off because I can't.
You get a uniform.
Yeah, that's much better.
You get training. You get a skill. You get a paycheck. You get a group of friends.
Yeah, brotherhood.
You get barracks to live in. Wow. So you literally can just arrive with nothing and then leave after 20 years with everything.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. So now that we're on the outside, some new
Speak for yourself, brother.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah. now that I'm on the outside.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, one of the things that comes up a lot is like, especially now, because buying a new car, or any car in, what is it, the past 15, 20 years or so, like it gets more difficult to do your own stuff with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess now the question it's still the same question, but like, what's the bare minimum essentials for car maintenance these days, in your professional
Well,
opinion?
so like the army will teach you is you got to look at the manual,
Yep. Yep.
right?
Yep.
Typically for any vehicle that you have a manual, and it'll describe um, maintenance to do in different categories or different time frames.
You.
And surprisingly, your car owner's manual will give you the same type of stuff. So not only will it tell you oil change intervals, but it will go over. It'll have a whole table of maintenance, like your spark plugs or your transmission fluid or differential fluid, brake pads,
Yeah, I would say
air
the
filter, in-cabin air filter, all that stuff.
yeah, the main one for me is like, what the hell do these lights mean?
Mm.
Like,
Mm. Well, yeah. So your owner's manual will have all that. And the truth is, not a lot of people. I mean, most people don't read the owner's manual, and
yes, that's definitely not step one.
but so okay. So minimum, I think everybody knows you have to change your oil. That's the lifeblood of your motor, and it's pretty much the most frequent maintenance that you're going to do outside of just visual checks and stuff.
Yeah.
Say you walk out to your car and you see you got a flat tire. Well, if you're like in the military, you do a walk around
Yep. Yep.
beforehand, you do preventative maintenance beforehand. There's a driving portion and there's a portion afterwards too.
Hmm.
So yeah, if you were to translate that to your civilian vehicle, you would do a walk around beforehand. You'd probably get in after the visual inspection, start it up, make sure no lights come on, and you would check. You could pop the hood and check for any strange sounds or look for any leaks or
Yeah. Yeah.
whatever. You check your lights, your horn, your blinkers, stuff like that, because that's all part of it too. So, surprise again, funny enough, like just like you said, the military provides you with everything you need to be successful for that as well.
Yeah. It's and speaking of the old checks there, it's kind of the opposite with the ladies, right? You gotta you gotta ask for permission to check that oil.
uh,
But I'm
it
bummed.
just depends.
Yeah, I guess it does depend.
sometimes,
Sometimes they do just
sometimes
say,
if you're in the moment
yeah,
and you don't ask for permission,
yeah.
you just go for it.
Well, sometimes they ask as well. All
Yeah.
right, I'm gonna pull up a picture here. National Museum of the Pacific, because that's what came up. So that way we have something in the background.
Pacific what?
Uh, like,
Just like a war
yeah,
museum?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
The Pacific Fleet?
yeah, yeah. Let's see here. How loud am I? I feel like I'm pretty loud. Oh,
Sounds fine to me.
I turned up my computer volume. That's why. All right, and bloop. There we go. Oh, come
Sounds
on.
normal.
Damn it. What is this? No, I don't want to rescue people.
The Pacific.
How's this? No, that's good
Oh,
enough.
there you go.
That's good enough.
Man, those look old.
Yeah, right?
That's
Probably still running pretty good, too.
is that? I don't know. I should know better, but it doesn't look like it's
Yeah, I don't know what that's.
necessarily U.S. Well, maybe that's just older U.S. vehicles because
Yeah.
those tires are old.
Yeah.
We don't use those anymore, not that I know of. Yeah. Now, when I was first in, so I was a mechanic when I first joined,
Yeah, yeah.
and we had some of these older vehicles, but we didn't really do any deep like in-depth maintenance. We just did basic stuff.
Oh, okay.
And there was a shop down the road, the depot or whatever, that maintenance shop that would handle everything above 10 level For those in the military, you know what 10 level maintenance is. For anybody that doesn't, they stratify maintenance of vehicles and other things based on, I guess, the amount of difficulty, skill, or tools required. So your basic 10 level is considered your user level. And so if you're using a vehicle, there's a basic amount of things that you should be responsible for
Yeah.
doing, doing and checking. And then if it gets beyond that, say you break something, well, typically that's not your problem anymore. Your vehicle gets deadlined or something, and then it goes to a higher echelon of maintenance.
Well, let me see if I can pull up this. Here we go. Trying to get.
So I got two stories.
All right.
I got two stories for you about maintenance and manliness.
Right.
Coincidentally, whenever you're
talking
ready.
about shaving. There we go. Bam. Remember those little skinny tires?
Oh my gosh, dude!
Like, how did they go through like muddy water and everything? Like,
yeah,
how did they get through that stuff?
Yeah, I think because they probably weighed.
Yeah, I guess so.
They probably weigh like 1,000 pounds. So, now every vehicle is like 10,000 pounds.
Yeah, that's true, I guess.
It needs bigger. I mean, the tires are 4 times bigger than that. But of course, 4 times the weight. So that's another interesting thing is engineers will determine tire size based on a couple things, but I think it's mainly vehicle weight and acceleration and braking force.
Oh.
So your tire, the width of your tire, the tread, I guess the sidewall height and stuff like that is all engineered on purpose.
So that Uber driver that turned away the chick that was too fat was in the right.
Yeah. He was in the right, absolutely. That would have been an unsafe act.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he would have been negligent.
Like, I'm sorry, these are not regulation tires for that kind of job, lady.
Yeah, we can't exceed the cargo capacity. It says right here on the door.
Yeah, see, if he had the manual, if he had read his manual, which it seems like he did, he'd know that. It's like, I'm sorry, ma'am, it says right here.
Yeah,
it actually has a picture of you.
Weight rating.
Yeah, there's a picture of a fat lady. It says with an X on it.
Yeah.
Like, no way, Jose.
Yeah.
All right. So, but before we get too sidetracked, you had that story. You're gonna get into there.
Okay, I can tell you a quick story from my old boss. He, his daughter was, I guess she was dating a guy.
Okay.
They were out, so his daughter and this guy were out driving somewhere. They got a flat tire, and they called him to come help change it. They didn't know how.
Oh, so, Jesus Christ! That's like 101.
That's a sort of a big deal.
Yeah.
Now, so that he's like, oh, I don't know if I want this guy dating my daughter because he doesn't know how to change a flat tire. So we're talking about 10 level maintenance, right?
Yep.
And these are things, if you're driving a vehicle, you should know how to do.
Okay, yeah, let's get on that. Yeah.
So, okay, but the other story is something similar. Basically, a guy and a girl were out. I think the girl was driving Uber or Uber Eats, and this was the time I had ordered Uber Eats. Well, hold on. I don't know if it was them, it was the driver. Anyway,
okay.
they were like an Uber Eats driver or something like that. Somehow they came to my house.
Okay.
Or they pulled in front of my house and they had a flat tire. So I saw them out there. It was after work one day, and I was like, who's sitting parked in front of my yard? So I waited a little bit, didn't see anything. They were kind of like walking around and they were on the phone. I walked out and said, is everything okay? And they said, oh yeah, we got a flat tire. I said, oh, okay, well, do you have a spare and whatever? And the guy said, oh no, we don't have a spare.
Oh, geez.
I was like, well, I can call you if you want to use my phone or something, we can call, but I have tools. I have a jack and I have, sockets and stuff. If you want to change your tire, you're welcome to just change it in my driveway, just back up in here. And they said, oh, no, we're fine. We don't need any help, whatever.
Okay.
But so anyway, they sat out there for like 45 minutes and they were on the phone. You could tell they were calling somebody, a roadside assistant, something. So I was like, okay, fine. Sounds like
45 minutes. They could have changed like all 4 tires.
No, it was longer than that, I think. It was a while. So somebody pulled up. I'm guessing it was either his parents or her parents. Somebody pulled up It turns out there was a spare tire,
Oh
and it was
god.
either in the trunk or underneath. I think it might have been under
Yeah, that makes
the
sense.
rear side, like just like
Yeah,
where you would
that's
expect a
right.
rear
Because
tire. But
mine's underneath in the back. Yeah.
yeah, right. And so there's like my truck, for example, had the spare tire on a cable, and you had to crank it down,
Yep. Yeah.
and it kind of descended. Um, and yeah, you could unhook it from there, but if you didn't have the crank and the tool and nowhere to put the crank, then you'd kind of be lost. So anyway, this guy didn't know where the tire was or whatever. So this one of their family members is like 70 years old, and he's out there changing the
Dang.
tire. And I'm like, this kid, and he didn't look that, anyway, it was
Was
just
he
one
at
of
least
those
helping,
times.
like holding the tire or something? Like,
I don't think so. And
dang.
that's why I was so disappointed. I was like, this guy,
What a loser.
yeah, what a loser.
You're like, just
So,
talking to his girl, be like, hey, you want to wait inside with a man, a real man?
yeah, like, well, no,
I have
she's not
spare
like that.
tires in
But
there.
now she was,
They're around my waist, but
yeah,
yeah, you can hold on to them.
yeah, yeah.
You can go tubing. Woo!
Hold these lug nuts.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, gentle squeeze there, baby.
yeah, not too much torque.
Yeah.
Just snug them up at first.
yeah. At
So,
first, until I get into
so
it.
I totally agree. Well, which that's true for lug nuts anyway. When you put your tire on, you tighten them down, but kind of like hand tight or so,
Yeah.
and then you set the tire down, lower the jack to where at least it's resting on the ground. Because when you torque them to 100 foot-pounds, or most
Yeah.
cars are between 80 and 100, then yeah, you're gonna put enough force on it to turn the tire. So yeah, it has to be on the ground. That's the only reason.
Yeah, but it's so much fun to
Anyway,
go woo 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 woo.
yeah, woo, yeah, spin the tire. Yeah. Meanwhile, your date is like, "Can we hurry up and get going?"
I've been done for 15 minutes, baby.
Yeah, I'm just playing.
I'm just
now.
playing around in there.
Wait, are we talking about changing tires?
Yeah.
Wow, what are you talking about?
We're actually going to get into the men in their vehicles.
Yeah. So anyway, interesting enough is I agree that while if you're asking someone what is the minimum maintenance you need to do, well, there off the top of my head I could rattle some stuff off, but yeah, oil changes, air filter, type stuff. But there
Yep.
is absolutely, I agree with the Army. There is an operator level maintenance that everybody
Yep.
can do and
Yep.
should know how to do, because you just don't want to be stranded. But they make it easier now with run flat tires. They make it easier with roadside assistance. And
Okay.
typically, if you live in a city and you're a woman, then like you get plenty of help on the side of the road, so you don't have to worry about that.
There's like
You're a
guys just
guy,
appear. Like that's
yeah,
time travel is invented for those moments. Like,
yeah,
like, where did you come from? From the future, baby. I heard you calling.
yeah, yeah.
I saw it in the
saw
newspaper.
I saw your breakdown 20 years ago. I was like, damn.
So I gotta get back there.
help
So
out.
I got to work. I
Yeah,
built a time machine so I could help you.
yeah. I remember how to change 20th century tires. I read it
In an old
in a
manual that was
in a VR, yeah, virtual reality manual.
yeah. You know, it's funny that guy didn't know where the tire was. Like, that's probably a sure sign that he also didn't know where the tool was either. Meaning, because that's always like it's harder to find the tool than it is the tire sometimes.
Well,
Like, because it's in that little like side panel thing or whatever. That's like, how do you open this thing?
yeah.
Like,
And maybe that means he couldn't find other things too
oh yeah, like there's
on
he's
on
got
his.
like a thing that pops up in the back that has like storage. Like, there's like a
I mean,
second trunk.
I mean something else.
Oh yeah.
Or his
you
ladies'
know
tools
the little thing on the top there.
on the thing. The man in the boat.
Yeah, the little man on the boat. Sometimes it's a big man in the boat.
Whoa. Hi-yo.
Hey-o.
Are we talking about tires? Still?
Hello down there.
Are we still talking about maintenance?
Of course. Lady maintenance
Is
needs to
this
happen too.
acceptable on your channel?
Yeah, we can talk about anything we want.
Can I
I'm,
is it 5 o'clock somewhere?
yep. No slaps on the wrist yet, which means anything goes until that happens.
So
Hello.
we could say the F word.
Oh yeah, I think we're past that point. I think we're good.
Fair. That's not fair.
Yeah.
The F word. According to Chris Voss, it's the F word.
Wait, who's Chris
You want to
Voss?
use that? Chris Voss, for all your guys out there, is a book you should absolutely read.
Oh.
It's called Never Split the Difference.
Oh, that one. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and Chris Voss is well, uh, one of his, I say, more prominent, famous jobs would be he was an FBI hostage negotiator.
Yeah.
So he talks about strategies and some experience that he's had working with the FBI as a negotiator, and yeah, a lot of good stuff.
Yeah.
And so he says you want to use the F word in negotiation sparingly because it's so powerful.
Yeah. Fuck me? No, fuck you.
Yeah, no, fair. That sounds fair. Or that's not fair, because if you're negotiating
Oh,
a
those F
business
words.
deal, yeah.
Yeah. I remember the what was it, the how am I supposed to do that? The how questions, right? Like,
It's one of the best ones. Yeah. How
yeah,
am I
yeah.
supposed to do that? I've used that at work.
Could you just hurry up, please? How am I supposed to do that?
Yeah, how am I supposed to do that? Yeah, and now your problem becomes their problem.
Look, I'm trying. I'm doing my best.
Yeah.
All right. So, we have the basic maintenance that we have to do. What do you think is like reasonably a yearly or like monthly cost for like not like the stuff that you're gonna have to keep replacing like consistently, but the stuff like if you're doing true level 1, regular maintenance, what do you think is the cost there?
Well, I would say every year, depending on the amount of miles you drive, I'd say what is your average person might be 10 to
Yeah,
15,000
let's say
miles a
10 to
year.
15. It's probably I think
Well,
that's
you're
like insurance
definitely
companies usually that's the average, right?
yeah, you're definitely want to do an oil change within that time period, if not two,
Well,
depending on your maintenance listed in your manual. Also, usually, if your vehicle's new enough, well, if it's new, you might have free maintenance included for the first several years. Sometimes now it's getting more common that you got to buy that package. Some cars used to come with it, like BMW. Now they
yeah.
don't. You got to buy maintenance packages, but it's usually a lot cheaper than paying outright.
Yeah.
So I would say you do one oil change per year. You're going to do one cabin air filter. You're going to do one engine air filter. You're going to do wiper blades. And I would say in a year, yeah, you'll probably do that. Your tires, now let's just make it easy. Start off with a new car. Typically, new car tires are going to last you 40 to 50,000 miles. So you won't have to change those until it's out of warranty, the 4 or 5 year limit. A lot of cars are 336, some are 4 years 50, some are, you can extend it,
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what
So
you're going to
basically
pay
your loan your loan term.
Yeah, so if you buy all that, and I mean, if you can do it yourself, that's great. If not, you take it to the dealer, they're going to charge you. I mean, usually dealers now, every hour labor, $120 up to 150.
Yeah.
I've seen 200 sometimes, like, just depends what brand of vehicle you buy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think a lot of dealers are over $100 an hour now. They're going to charge you at least an hour to do your oil change, if not an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Cabin air filter, they'll charge you half an hour for that. I wouldn't. You can do that yourself in 5 minutes.
Yeah, right. You just pop it off and replace it.
Yeah. There's usually a little you got to
Like
unscrew
the wing
something.
nut.
Pull. Yeah, you can take the door off.
They call me wing nut.
What movie is that from?
I don't know, but that definitely sounds familiar.
And then you're going to do your engine air filter, which is They may have an interval for that that might be higher, but I still think every almost I'd say if you're doing oil change every 2 to 3 oil changes, you need to do your
Yeah.
air filter because it'll just get dusty and dirty and bugs and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, so you could again, that's pretty cheap usually if you buy it off Amazon, do it yourself. It's not too complicated.
See, that's why I have
But the
like
dealer's going to charge you another 30 minutes to an hour, depends. Like my car
yeah.
has two of them, so they're going to charge me maybe an hour to do that.
Yeah.
Plus, or you know, 3/4 an hour plus plus the price of two filters. So, but yeah, I would say annual maintenance. I mean, it should be under 300 for all roughly somewhere around 2 to 300.
Yeah.
Now, if you do it yourself, you just buy the oil. Like I just literally got delivery today of my engine oil for my car, and it cost me $100 to get two 5-quart containers. So 10 quarts of oil
Oh,
cost me
nice.
$100.
But
And I bought the filter off Amazon,
yeah.
and I could change that from the top of the motor. So I don't even have to lift it up or get under it. I just pump the oil out from the top
Oh, nice.
and put the filter on top, and then go from there. So yeah, for my maintenance annually, that's roughly what it is. I can do 2 oil changes in a year because I drive every 10,000 miles is my interval on mine.
Yeah.
So just for an example. So, but I change it every 5,000 just because of the way I drive.
Yeah.
And yeah, it just depends
Pedal to the
who
metal.
you ask. Yeah, but I'll do at least 2 oil changes a year. Like I said, the last time I was at the dealer for an oil change, I also had them do the air filter because it
Yeah.
was due. Time was due. So that's been changed recently. And the cabin air filter I do myself. So yeah, this year it's cost me just for oil change basically and some other stuff, $300 to $500 in some maintenance.
That's not too bad though. Like considering
Yeah, yeah, it's
yeah,
not
you're
usually.
getting
Sometimes it's
you're
not
getting that
that
high
bad.
end quality stuff too.
Well, I paid more this year because I've done more maintenance. I did everything except for brake fluid because it wasn't necessary. At this point, brakes were changed brand new a year ago,
Yeah.
and then I did not do spark plugs yet, but I did everything else: radiator
Yeah.
fluid, all the differentials, right? Because the 4-wheel drive, so differentials, rear end, and then the engine oil. Of course, I've done 2 of those: cabin air filter, engine air,
Yeah.
and wiper blades and stuff like that. So
All right.
it's cost a little more. I haven't added it all up, but
Yeah. Well, this is
but
why
yeah,
I have a
still it's fully maintained. I won't have to do some of those for another 2 or 3 years
oh, nice.
just because the mileage. You don't do your. I would say some of those like your brake fluid. I want to get that done soon, just because
Yeah.
I'm used to doing it every year or two. And then the radiator fluid, usually, um, every couple of years or so. Some people don't ever change it. I don't agree with that, but
Yeah.
that again, we're talking about minimum level maintenance, what it costs for 1 year. And I think most people on average, unless you're at that point where you're buying tires or going to a more more than an annual service, you're going to like an interval service, like something that might occur every 30,000 miles, 50, 100,000 miles. Those
Yeah.
bigger checks, long term, spark plugs.
Yeah,
Then
that's
yeah, if that falls on the 30,000 mile mark, then obviously that year you're going to pay for your oil change and your filters plus that, right? So it may go up
yeah.
to $500, maybe go up to $600 a year.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I have a like I've got everything like on a calendar, on a long-term calendar.
Yeah,
So I basically just made a spreadsheet of like
yeah.
all these things. So it's like and then it just has like the year that I need to do certain things on it, and then whatever month that is, or whatever I
That's a great
guess
idea.
that month is gonna be. Because I'll forget.
Could
There's
you?
I'll be like, oh, when did I? Or I'll like double up. It's like it's probably been like 3 years, but it's been like a year, and then you're like paying too much money at that point.
Yeah, yeah. So okay, here. So that's a good point that you bring up. Maintenance tracking.
Yeah,
So like
yeah,
you can use that to budget or project how much money you're going to spend, and that's always good. And then also I do Excel spreadsheet of what service was done, when and where, any notes, the cost. So for my last vehicle, my current vehicle, my motorcycle, all that stuff, like I have this spreadsheet for basically everything I put into it, modifications,
Oh,
third party.
okay.
So yeah, I could tell you on my truck, I might have spent like I think it was $13,000 or something
Yeah.
on all the maintenance. And now I had that for 3 years. Plus, I did a lowering kit. I did wheels and tires. I did a speaker, like an amp and a subwoofer, all that. So all the extra maintenance I did too, to include transmission and radiator and brake fluid, and I did everything, right?
Yeah.
Differential, yeah, all that adds up.
Yeah, that's interesting because
So
you have it like itemized. So I bet
yeah,
you just have it in a category of like incidentals.
Hmm.
um,
yeah. Some people might say that. I just do it specifically for the vehicle because usually car people want to know that type of stuff. So
yeah.
I track it. Maybe your average person, they see a clean vehicle, they go to the dealership, they're like, "Oh, it looks clean. I'm just going to buy it."
Dang,
But
imagine somebody getting your one of your cars and like, oh, here's a spreadsheet of everything they have done. Like, oh,
yeah,
thanks.
yeah, yeah. Well, the guy that bought my truck, he wanted me to print it out, and I put it in
Oh,
a
nice.
folder because I had the original.
It's like a
I had the
leather
window
bound book.
sticker. Yeah, I had the owner's manual. I had the original window sticker. I had obviously the keys and everything, all the notes and the spreadsheet in there.
Nice.
So he has the complete vehicle history, all that.
Dang.
But yeah, so now he can buy with confidence because
Yeah.
he knows that, hey, I literally did everything plus, plus, plus.
Yeah.
Like I over maintained the vehicle. So it doesn't need anything. It even had new tires. So like he didn't have to buy tires for another 30, 40,000 miles.
Yeah. Well, now, so I know I had to do essentially like an overhaul, um, because
Yeah.
it had been sitting for uh, about 5 years or whatever, however long that was.
Yeah.
And so not having a vehicle sitting, how often should somebody be doing like just a complete go through everything?
Not having a vehicle sitting.
Yeah, so like you are using it regularly.
Oh yeah.
There is going to be some point where you probably want to like, you know, have an enema or whatever on the vehicle there.
Yeah, the vehicle enema,
Yeah.
the transmission enema.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's basically what you're doing. You're draining the old fluid and
Yeah.
pushing new fluid into it. There's two holes, but
But bum.
yeah. Typically, there's two in the rear differential.
That's where we get confused. Like, which one do I start with? I don't know.
Still talking about vehicle maintenance.
Oh yeah, what?
Yeah. What else were we talking about?
Ford Focus?
What?
What was that? What was that on? That was a rap CD, right?
Caribbean leather.
Yeah,
I think he said I think he said Corinthian leather.
but it was like Caribbean or something. Like
Corinthian leather. I think that's what it was.
Yeah, it's supposed to be
Some
Corinthian.
like
Yeah.
rap song or something.
Yeah, we gotta find out what that is.
Well, if
Ford
your
Focus?
vehicle, yeah. So okay. So what are we asking? Are we going above the basic maintenance now?
Yeah, so this is like you are gonna have to do
Ooh.
it, but it's like this is gonna be like the big
Ooh.
deal, Big Daddy.
Oh, Big Daddy. Okay, so
Like I'm not
so
getting a new
outside of
vehicle because
your,
that's typically what happens. By the time that happens, like
yeah.
people trade out and they get a new one, so they don't have to worry about it.
Well, a lot of times people will, if they do the dealer recommended maintenance, the dealer will often follow the maintenance schedule that's in the manual. Now, sometimes, and this is where you got to be, it pays to read your manual and understand maintenance to some degree, but the job of the service advisor at the dealership is to make the dealership money.
Yeah.
So you bring your vehicle in, they're going to do what's required, hopefully. Let's just assume they're a decent dealer.
Yeah.
Well, they may recommend additional stuff, and it's up to you to either accept or reject that.
Yeah.
If it's in the manual, then I would do it. If it's not in the manual, and say something's broken, well then yeah, fix it. You know, ideally you want stuff fixed, and then but if it's not in the manual and it's too early or whatever, there's no reasonable you know, like why are we doing this now? You know, why do I
Yeah.
need a one why do I need this cleaner or this fuel additive? Well, don't do any of that. Don't add shit to
Yeah, yeah.
anything. Don't use
You need
don't use any
halogen fluid.
cleaners. Don't use any detergents or additives. All that stuff
Yeah.
should come in the factory oil. You should get the factory oil. I don't recommend for any car,
And
and this is here's me recommending, right?
your
Don't ever
halogen
take it.
fluid too, man.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
need to
your
make sure
blinker
you have that.
fluid.
Yeah.
Exactly. Don't take it to the Jiffy Lube, the quick
Yeah.
lube places. And
Okay,
here's
so
why,
yeah,
because
I was gonna
they
say
use
why.
the stock oil. They'll use a big barrel from, you know, whatever company they're getting a stock oil. And when I say stock oil, I mean it's just a basic 1040, 1050 oil.
So this would be like the equivalent of like well drinks.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And that doesn't mean that it's bad. You'll still get drunk. Your engine will still get lubricated.
Yeah.
But if your vehicle requires um like for example, the Ford truck takes 530, right?
Yeah.
Well, they may have 10 something, or they may have 530, they may have 550, or whatever it is. You may not be getting the exact blend, or you definitely won't be getting the high end like synthetic stuff.
Yeah.
So you're going to get you know, arguably two things. You could be getting a lower end oil, and you could also be getting not the right grade of oil or not the right viscosity of oil. Although your owner's manual will tell you the range of viscosity that you can put. So typically they're within that, and that's okay. So again, it's knowledge is power. So the more you know,
Yeah.
the better it can be. But yeah, I wouldn't even take it there. Just suck it up, pay the extra 40, 50 bucks, go to the dealer. At least it's documented that it was done at the dealer. So when you go to sell the vehicle, you can say, hey, all the oil changes are done by the dealer, fully maintained, whatever. You know, there's no issues. Again, some people don't care, but some people do. It just depends.
Yeah. Yeah.
But getting outside of big services, like, so we're moving on to big stuff, would be, I don't know. It sort of depends how involved it is sometimes to do the service. Like for some reason, the F-150, the spark plugs were like a $500-600 job. The
Dang.
transmission fluid, and usually people aren't doing spark plugs, transmission, differential. Some people never do those. Some people never touch that stuff.
How
A
do
lot
you,
of times people don't change out their brake fluid or their radiator fluid. They just wait till something breaks. So again, I'm not like that. I don't think anybody should live like that. If you want to be stranded on the side of the road, by all means,
hey,
then
I live
just
my life fast, loose, and hard.
yeah, 1/4 mile at a time, right? But yeah, that's kind of a and that's
Shout out
the
to
military.
AutoZone.
Yeah,
Sponsor me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not sponsored, but you can sponsor me.
Well, okay. So like the big auto parts stores, or well, there's four, I guess. Four, what? Napa, O'Reilly, AutoZone,
Um,
and
is
Discount Auto
is it
Parts.
is it advance or discount? What is it? What is it now?
Advanced. There's an advanced one. There's a discount one. Napa,
I thought it was the
O'Reilly.
same.
At
I
least,
thought advance and discount was the same.
uh,
Maybe it's just they
I don't
took
know.
over the locations.
I don't know. Well, I know there's an advanced auto parts, and there's a discount auto parts,
Yeah,
right?
because I used to go to
I could check the
discount all
map.
the time, like
Yeah.
just because
Or
the
AutoZone. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah. I see. AutoZone. Okay.
yeah
Maybe you're right. Maybe maybe it did change
advance.
the name.
Let me look that up because I'm curious now. But yeah, I used to get a
Yeah.
discount because that had the guys that worked there actually knew what they were talking about.
Yeah. Napa is interesting. They have like
Advanced
kind of weird
or
stuff. They're not set up like a
discount.
typical auto parts store.
Yeah, that's a weird.
But I like O'Reilly. They seem to be pretty good, pretty clean. But yeah. Yeah,
It looks like
big services would be
sorry.
on
It looks
screen.
like it's advanced discount auto parts.
Oh. Well, I turned it into two different ones.
All right, hang on.
Advanced
We're
discount.
gonna go ahead and
So it's
Yeah.
like super discount.
Yes. Oh,
Yeah,
why is it so
okay.
small?
Yeah, good call.
Yeah. It's like
Yeah,
a it's like a
there's
Chinese store
AutoZone.
now.
I just went to AutoZone today to get some tire cleaner and engine some engine stuff, engine cleaner. Because I cleaned my engine bay so it looks spotless.
Nice.
Yeah, so those are big services. Big service would be the brakes are usually a big one. You may replace pads a couple times before you wear down the disc enough to need replacement. So there's that. That's usually a pretty big job. And the spark plugs are not so bad depending on how easy it is to access them. The transmission and differentials, now again, not so bad, but
Yeah.
usually people don't do them very often. They're not too expensive. So usually, I mean, maintenance is pretty cheap if you think about it. The problem comes in when you don't maintain your vehicle and
Yeah.
then you just
Yeah.
wait till it breaks. And that's where the costly stuff will come in because
Real tiny, but it's there.
um,
Advanced disco parts.
yeah, that's from the future.
Yeah.
Or 1970 called and they want
Yeah,
their disco back, their disco parts. Yeah. So there's like, okay, so if you're thinking, I'm gonna maintain my vehicle and I'm gonna change all the fluids, yeah, within that 100,000 mile mark, you should definitely have replaced everything at least once. I'm
Okay.
talking like spark plugs,
Yeah.
differential fluid, radiator fluid, brake fluid, transmission fluid. You're gonna have to at least go through a set of tires. You're gonna go through a bunch of filters, engine filters, oil filters, cabin air filters, wiper blades, and yeah. So you're gonna go through it. Now, once you get over 100,000 miles, 150,000 miles, you're gonna probably have to start replacing hardware,
Yeah.
like, and that's assuming, like I said, you did everything. You have new brake discs and pads and all that. Because usually those don't last more than 100K.
Yeah.
But you might have to replace bushings,
Oh
ball
yeah.
joints,
Yep.
suspension parts like shocks and struts. And a lot of times you can get over 200,000 miles before some of those break down, sometimes three, just depending on the quality. But that would be on the very far end. If you kept a car that long, you might replace belts and hoses within the first 100,000
Belts and
miles, although
hose.
it's really that's sort of debatable. I would say within the first 100,000, yeah, you probably should have replaced some belts and hoses
Yeah.
or be thinking about it.
Yeah. Speaking of belts, right? Like some of
Yeah.
them, they always put them in the like worst possible place for you to work on it nowadays. So what's that?
Yeah.
What's that special tool called that you have to get now? That's the only job it has. It's like that little. It looks like the thing they used to use for unlocking car doors.
Mm.
It looks like that. You know what I'm talking about?
Is it for the belts?
Yeah, yeah.
About?
To get the timing belt, particularly, I think. If I remember correctly.
There's a tool you can use a regular wrench to get in on the tensioner and loosen that.
Oh,
to
maybe
pull
that's
out
what I'm
the
talking.
serpentine
Yeah.
belt. Well, it's just a breaker. It's like a breaker bar.
Okay, that's what. Because I've only seen them using it, but I didn't see what it
Something like
looked
that.
like on the bottom.
Yeah, so to get into a car, like the Slim Jim you're talking
Yeah,
about,
yeah,
but
Slim Jim. It looks like that.
that's not what you would use
Yeah,
to take the belt off.
but it looked like that.
Hoses come off with a
Right.
hose clamp, and there's a specific tool that they use
Yeah,
to crimp the new hose
yeah.
on there.
Because I remember when I
Or-
had my old Mazda Tribute. Like,
Yep.
I went in there because it's doing the the
Oh, the squeaking.
yeah. And so like, all right, I'm gonna go check this out. And I look in there and I'm like, how the fuck? I can't get in there. Like,
Yeah.
'cause I can see it, but I can't get in there.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
it's way too small. The angle is like just enough to where I can't get a tool in there.
mhm.
And I was like, okay, well, I got to take it in. And then when I saw him like in there, he's got this like really long bar thing. I was like, what the hell is that?
Yeah, he's well, he probably took the fan shroud off or whatever engine covers are in the way.
Yeah.
And then you can get to it. But yeah, like a lot of times it's pretty tight. So if I don't have the special tool, or if I
Yeah.
don't have a combination of tools and the time, and I've never done it before, then yeah, sometimes I'll take it into the dealer and have them
Yeah.
do it. But that's, again, it's really not that often. You might find that 80,000 miles, 100,000 miles, maybe your original belt's good.
Yeah.
Just check it for dry rot and
Yeah. And you can tell like
make
right
sure there's
away
no cuts or
looking at it.
whatever. Yeah, but that's a visual inspection that
Yeah.
you could do if you had, you know, go by your owner's manual. It'll usually tell you to do stuff
Hmm.
like that.
Well, I guess,
But I mean, this is stuff that nobody teaches anymore.
yeah.
People just get in a car and hit the button and go, especially with electric cars. So a lot
Yeah.
of those moving parts aren't even there. So all you got to worry about with them is whatever coolant is associated with the battery, brakes and tires, wiper blades, in-cabin air filter, and then the rest of it's a battery. So you have you have differential fluids because there will still be that
Yeah.
mechanical part portion, but that's a little oil. That's not engine oil necessarily.
Is there going to be any need for wiper blades when we don't have to drive anymore?
Oh, good question. Would we even? Well, we would have windows.
Yeah, but
I would
you don't
guess.
have, wiper blades on the sides, so
Yeah, you're right.
you can
Just
just
the back and front.
daintily look outside
But if
while
you're,
this
yeah,
car
so
drives
think
you around.
about you got AI is driving you around, or the
Yeah.
robots or whatever, and they're using a combination of maybe cameras and lidar and
Yeah.
radar sensors or whatever they go to. Well, yeah, you wouldn't really need to see out, so you
Yeah.
could have no windows, but people want to see out, so there
Yeah.
will be windows.
It's
I
basically
don't
just
see
going to
them
be a
getting rid of that.
dome.
Oh, here, I know what they're gonna do. Get rid of the windows, and they put a camera out, and then you just see what the camera sees. So it's a TV
Oh,
screen,
jeez, yeah.
and you can turn it on
No,
and have a 3D
what they should have?
3D screen.
They should have like those old bombers, and you had the gunner, and he had like the
Yeah.
swivel. It should just be a big
Oh
dome,
yeah,
and you just swivel
that's
around.
awesome. Yeah, or like the belly gunner,
Yeah,
on the
yeah,
underside. But yeah, either way, same thing.
That's
You
what it
just
should
got
be.
this globe that you're in,
Yeah,
this half
you just spin
sphere.
around as you need to.
Yeah, and just like what was that? Star Trek had one of those too, right? On the Millennium Falcon.
Star Wars. Yeah, yeah.
Was it? Oh, never
Yeah.
mind, not Star Trek.
That's the lesser class of the two. All right, wait for the
Whoa.
hate mail on that one.
Hey-o.
Boom.
Oh yeah,
Trying
yeah.
to
Don't come for me in the comments.
trying to get the traction going on this.
Yeah,
Get the conversation out there.
we got to say some controversial
Yeah,
stuff.
that's one right there.
So
That's Stars 2 and
Trek
3
is
right
better
there.
than Star Wars. Ooh.
Oh, hit me up in
What
the
do you think
chat.
about
What do
that?
you think?
Yeah, let us
Jesus.
know in the comments.
So
So
definitely there's some things to outsource for sure. Like I'm definitely when it comes to like balancing tires and all that stuff, I'm getting somebody else to do that. But
yeah, absolutely.
what should a man starting from zero? So let's talk about those those guys in your stories. Like let's say they were to go from where they were to somebody you would consider a man. So what should they aspire to be able to do on their own to like qualify? What do you think?
Okay, so that's a good question. What should the goal be for any young man starting to drive, or if you're already driving, you just don't know shit?
Yeah.
Then I hate to say it like that,
Or you got a sugar mama that has a car.
Yeah, and she has. So here's another thing. That's a big deal because a lot of women, and no offense, but they're just not mechanically inclined. That doesn't excite them. It's not fun for them. But for some reason, guys love this shit, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. So I would say you would need to understand at least a basic level all the systems that go on in a car, and that sounds like a lot at first, but it's really not because you have you have an engine and you have a drive line that includes a transmission and differential. You should basically understand how that works and also know that there's oil in those and there's wear items. So that's another thing in general, just like the braking system on your car.
Yeah.
Is a hydraulic system. There are wear items in that system. Not everything needs to be replaced, but there are wear items. You need to be aware of that. On the outside of your car is a wear item. It's a big one. Everybody knows it's called tires, rubber tires.
Yep.
And well, while we're at it, talking about another
Gotta
wear
get
item
them rubbers.
is wiper blades. Yeah, that's also a rubber, silicone, whatever they use, right? So those they don't usually last longer than a year for the wipers, and then your tires are rated for 30, 40, 50, 60,000 miles, whatever you choose.
Yeah.
A lot of times the manufacturer will choose a tire. Well, it's kind of like a balance. It'll be like, hey, we want performance, but we also want longevity, and we want low rolling resistance for efficiency, etc. So they'll choose a tire that meets those needs. But yeah, so you would want to know, you would want to understand in general how a vehicle works, why it's doing what it's doing, how it's doing it, again, in general, so you understand kind of what's going on. And then you need to understand each system and then the wear items that are included. And then if you go further, read the owner's manual, which is, again, I know it takes time. I know it's difficult because it's brand new, but if
Yeah.
you read through it one time, I mean, you're going to be you're probably going to put you in the top, I would say 5% of drivers on the road. I mean, maybe even less because
Yeah,
nobody
right.
reads their manual nowadays.
Yeah.
And nobody even thinks to refer to the manual. They're like, wait, what is this light? Like you said,
Yeah.
what does this light mean? And I had, this is all in your owner's manual. It will tell you all the warning lights.
Yeah.
There's a page or several pages in there that will go over every single light. So I had a friend call one time, female friend years ago, and she said, "Hey, I got a light on my dash." And I said, "Okay, describe it to me." And basically, she was describing a low tire
Oh
pressure.
yeah.
It was
Well,
the
in her defense,
TPMS
it doesn't
sensor.
quite look like what it should like.
Yeah, it
What
looks
you
like a
would
light
think.
bulb. She said it looks something like an upside down light bulb. I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, that's
Yeah.
one of your tires is low." And it was wintertime, and she happened to have a European vehicle with TPMS sensors, and it was just
Yeah.
telling her one
PMS
of the tires was low.
sensors, of course.
Yeah,
Yeah.
PMS sensor. Yeah. She was like, "Yeah, in 2 weeks, I'm gonna get pissed off
The light comes
at
on.
anything."
It's just like the
Yeah,
angry
yeah,
emoji.
yeah. The car knows. The car can tell because the PMS sensor in the driver's
Yes.
seat.
Woo, woo,
Bitch,
it's like a
bitch.
special lady seat.
Oh, geez. Yeah, with vibrating massage.
Yeah. I mean, I'll take that.
She's like, "I love driving this thing."
There's the man's version is there's just a hand down there that jiggles. Gotta mind the children.
Jeez. Yeah, you got passengers. Jeez. So, yeah. So I would say, okay. So we're understanding the systems of the vehicle, how they work, and we're understanding what wear items there are because we're eventually going to have to do maintenance. And of course, any emergency stuff that goes on. So you want to know where your hazard lights are, you know, how to work all the controls on the dash, right?
Yeah.
You want to go over every single button. You want to go through the menus.
Yep.
Newer cars have menus, so just scroll through the menus and familiarize yourself with that. And then definitely check your spare tire. And
Like first,
and
where is
go
it?
through.
Is it like inflated as well?
Yeah, right.
Like,
And so here, let me ask you this: what the first time you go through that process of changing out a bad tire for the spare, do you want it to be on the side of the road late at night when
yeah,
you're unfamiliar, or
like in the
do you want
dark.
to do it a practice run?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. In the dark. Maybe you're on a date, and now it's your chance to prove to her
Yeah.
that you have the skills that it
I'm a
takes
man.
I'm a man. I'm a baby. I swear, I'm a man. Just look between my legs. No, nigga, I ain't look between your legs.
Yeah. Well, the other thing too is like you need that as like a escape plan too. It's like you're having a fight in the car, you can just be like, oh shit, we got a flat, and then if she knows that you don't know how to do that, you're not gonna can't pull that card. Like,
Yeah, well,
you can't fake it.
It's hard to fake a flat.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you do get a flat, here's
Yeah.
what might be able to turn it around. If your argument and you get a flat and it interrupts your argument and you get out and you change it and it's like, damn, now we're back on the road. She's gonna know,
Yeah.
okay, this guy can handle
Yeah.
this emergency situation.
You ain't never handled me like that.
Yeah, yeah. Oh man, I got a story. I got another story.
All right. Let's do it.
So okay, but yeah, to finish the story, the first one basically, well, I think you would rather do the tire change to familiarize yourself
Yeah,
in a
yeah,
controlled
yeah,
environment during the day. You can take time to find the tools. That way, when it's in the dark, you kind of already been through it once or
yeah.
twice, and
Which is a
you
very
know.
manly thing to do, is like contingency, like what's
Yeah,
this gonna look like in real, like, let me practice first. Yeah.
yeah. So the story was here. It was on my 40th birthday. My brother came down to. This was when I lived in Florida. He came down to do some birthday activities. Well, in the parking lot, we came back out to find that he had a super flat tire
Dang.
on his vehicle, and he was driving not only him, his wife, but like some friends. So everybody's relying on him
Yeah.
or us really to fix this. And there was no ladies that jumped in to help. So just for all
They're
the
all,
independent women out there,
they had their nails
it's
done and dresses on. They can't do
oh yeah, right. So they're not going to get their hands dirty, nor
that.
nor should they, right?
Yeah,
If you're a
exactly.
guy, you should be
If there's a man in the
handling it.
group, like,
Yeah,
they're off the hook as far as I'm concerned.
you
Like,
gotta handle business. That's
yeah,
just your job. That's how it
yeah,
is. Sorry, you don't like it, but that's just how it is
yeah.
biologically. So anyway, I don't think he had ever changed the tire on this before.
Oh,
So
dang.
his first, now, lucky enough, it was during the day, but we had to get online and figure out where his tools were because they were hidden in a compartment, like you said
Yeah.
earlier.
It's like the
And
newer cars get, the harder it is to find that stuff.
he had the crank, so he had the spare
Oh
tire
yeah.
mounted under, but like
Yep.
we couldn't get it off because there was a cable on a crank, and you had to crank it down from inside the vehicle after lifting up the that is a SUV, so it was that
Yeah, yeah.
bed, that cover on the rear. So anyway,
Mine's
he
basically
looked
just a
it up.
bracket. You just take the bracket
But
off.
here's what I'm saying, perfectly illustrates the point, which is that's a situation where we were not stretched for time and it was not nighttime,
Yeah.
but you had me, John, Devin, we were all there, four of us or so, five, like
Like,
ready
you're like a
to help.
Captain Planet. Like, your
Yeah,
forces
all the
combined.
Planeteers were there. Wind, water, earth,
Yeah.
fire. We were all there. Beer.
Yeah. There's like one guy over there who's like, "What are you using
Yeah,
there?"
yeah.
Torque
He
wrench.
just drinks. He just drinks and
Yeah.
criticizes as we're doing it.
You, oh,
He's like, "Hey, you missed the,
you
you missed it."
putting the tire back down on the ground before you tighten this up? Yeah, that's smart.
Yeah, you sure you want to do it like
Yeah.
that? So, yeah, yeah. So, yeah. So anyway,
We got there a
that's
lug
kind of what I'm
nut.
saying is,
Oh, that's a good one. Yep.
had he ever had to do that before, he would immediately know where to go. It
Yeah.
only takes one time, right?
Yeah.
So again, this is what I would say to someone who wants to familiarize yourself with your vehicle is just start
Yeah.
working on stuff.
Yeah, because
Look for things, go through the manual, go through the menus,
for one, it's
explore.
like it's good for your self-esteem, but also,
Yeah.
like, the shorter that time frame for you to become a man in the eyes of a woman, and get
Mhm.
shit done and get back in the car.
Mhm.
Yeah, the points, there's a point system there, and you lose points the longer that takes.
Yeah, yeah. And women can sense easily. They're much more in tune emotionally
Yep.
than men. Typically, their emotional intelligence is higher,
Yep.
and they'll pick up on anything,
Oh yeah,
any
yeah.
lack of
That bead of
confidence, any
sweat. Oh,
hesitation.
they know what that is.
Yeah,
Like,
they're
that's,
like,
it's not hot out here. What's he sweating for?
it seems like he's staring at that too long. He should know what to do, but he doesn't.
That's why we always want something with the engine being wrong, so we can put the hood in front of us.
Yeah, yeah.
So they
Oh,
can't
you just
see
stay
us.
in here and relax.
Yeah. You're like taking a nap.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, but anyway, that would have taken half the time had we not had to go look up where the panel was. And it's usually, I mean, they're all kind of in the same place. It's either on the right or left side in the back. There's a
Yeah.
little, like you said, a wing nut or something you can twist, and the thing folds down, and there's tools in there. And then you lift up the bottom panel cover, and then there's like the crank, and you start cranking that down. The wheel comes down, then you
Yeah.
pull it out of the.
Well, it
And
used to
then,
be in the
well,
same spot, like wherever
now you got to get
that.
the jack.
Yeah, wherever that thing
Jacks
was
under there
though,
too.
used to be where the tools were. So it'd be like right in the
Yeah.
middle. And then like I don't know if that's the way it is for newer cars, but it used to be like relatively close to the area there.
Yeah.
Now it seems like they're in like a side panel away from that spot. And it's like, well, why wouldn't you put it in the same spot like it used to be?
Well, who knows? Packaging is a whole other art
Yeah,
in
right.
itself.
Yeah.
It's getting that stuff
It's like
sorted out.
we can't
But
make it
yeah.
any bigger. Like you got to figure this
So
out.
he was also on a concrete surface. Now, if he was off on a grass or dirt, well, that jack
Oh
may or may
yeah,
not.
yeah,
You might have to put something under the jack to keep it from sinking in the sand.
yeah.
So
Especially if they got that crappy wind up jack,
yeah,
because
right.
nobody
And all of
buys
them have
the
that.
fucking hydraulic one that you should get. Like,
Yeah, all the well, it's how are you going to carry that in there?
yeah, it's pretty heavy.
Big
I
ass
guess.
hydraulic jack.
Yeah.
I even had a
Well, I had
small one for my
I had
car,
the
and that
mini
was still
one
heavy.
that you could take with you.
Yeah,
That I'd use, and then I just had like the
a bottle
little
jack.
yeah, but I had the little trays that you could put underneath
Yeah.
the jack stands.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd
Yeah.
have those too because they're pretty light. Like,
Mm.
and so that way I still had a quick way to get it up, and then put those underneath, and then I didn't have to worry about it the
Yeah.
land or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
Well,
what
when
I
you're on
like.
the
That's
side
my
of the
system.
road,
Yeah, that's what I like.
You got to kind of do the best you can, right? So,
Yeah,
yeah, some people bring. I mean, if you're off-roading, then you need a whole other set of tools,
yeah,
right?
right.
Because you may need a winch, you may need there's traction.
Yeah, you got to have that winch in the passenger seat. Yeah.
Yeah, hey, get out and push
Yeah.
the assistant. And then you need if you need to raise your vehicle, you need I think a 2x10, 2x8. You need something
Yeah.
sturdy because that jack's gonna sink in the
Oh
sand.
yeah.
You're never gonna get that tire off. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know, but yeah, just on average, you can
Yeah.
usually pull over to the shoulder, and you're on concrete, and you can change your tire. And for the most part, if a cop drives by, they'll stop and help, or they should. And usually, Good Samaritans may stop,
Yeah.
and sometimes people have a flashlight. Oh, that's nothing.
Okay.
Carrying, like, so what
I have
is
a
your so
flashlight.
you take this one because you've spent time on active duty.
Yeah.
Like, what would be an essential kit to have in a vehicle? And we just talked about a flashlight, right?
Yeah. Oh,
So,
flashlight.
what would you need?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because I think that one of the problems that you run into with when you need it supplies, so like emergency supplies, in particular, it's stuff with batteries.
Yeah,
You got to be careful. Like there's like battery maintenance, right? So
absolutely.
and that I think that's what kind of screws people over 9 times out of 10 is like it's been like you put it in there and you forget and you're like, okay, I got it, it's fine. Tools, you don't have to worry about that, right? So you need, I think, a screwdriver, some course of some type. I'd say like probably a universal one, like where you have some options. Is probably a good idea.
Yeah.
I definitely think a knife of some kind. I would say like a survival knife or some kind of utility knife, like a Gerber or something, is probably the best option because you have other things you can use on there. A fire blanket, I think, is a good idea to have with you because they're typically pretty small. I would say a poncho would be a good idea. Especially now because same thing, you can get like a little tiny travel one. You look ridiculous, but you might need it. I think for like, because we're talking about like maybe like maintenance, you need to work on something, tools, I guess, right? Like
Well, especially if it's at night. Yeah, you need a flashlight. You need that screwdriver, multi-tool, just basic stuff. Usually, change a tire. Your tools are in the car.
Yeah, but for the flashlight, you have to have like. This is why I schedule things all the time. You have to schedule like either charging it if it's a lithium style, but you kind of have to be careful with that, with like temperature and like where it is. And then same thing with like regular batteries. You got to be careful with temperature and like time for those because they corrode and like they don't explode, but they leak like really easily. And then if you can get it there in time, you can clean that up. But like usually you don't, and then now you can't open it anymore. And if you're in an emergency, you don't have anything to like get that fixed where you can open it. So you're kind of screwed. So even if you had extra batteries, so that's something I think, not just having the tools, but like scheduling your maintenance of your maintenance tools.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and batteries is one I think people forget a lot. So I actually have, so I've got a flashlight that I use for like walking the dog and stuff. And it's lithium and it lasts for probably the whole month and no issue. I could probably get a long time with it, but I have it scheduled in my calendar when I need to charge that, because it's like the last thing I want. We've got like copperheads and all kinds of crazy shit out here. So
scorpions.
Yeah. So the first thing that I wanted to do, because I had this little light that was on like the dog leash, and it's fine in the winter when there's nothing out there, but like there's coyotes and stuff out there now. So it's like I went to Lowe's and I got this cobalt, because it's like if I drop it, because that's likely. So that's another thing. Not just a flashlight, but like a sturdy mag light, or I think Cobalt makes a pretty good one. Because they have Cobalt makes this like it's like the military flashlight, you know. It has it's at an angle, but you can turn it to make a regular flashlight out of it. So it's both. And I think the versatility of that, like depending on how I need it, because a regular flashlight you can't really angle it, right? So if you have something that you can manipulate to make like stand up at a different angle, or even one that has like a I've seen the coil ones. I don't know how good they are, like if you drop them, but if they have like a sturdy one that also has like a adjustable base where you could like maneuver it, I think that'd be useful. But for now I just have like the one I can hook it on a vest, or I can make a regular flashlight out of it. I like that one a lot, and it's like 3,000 lumens or something like that. It's really high. So I want to be able to see like 60 feet in front of me. There's a snake over there, so I can avoid all that stuff. But anyway, something like that I think is a good idea. The other thing with the flashlight that I have is it's a lithium battery, so I can charge it, but it has an adapter that you can take that out and swap it for regular like AA's or AAA's or something. And so I think having like a utility knife, have a utility flashlight, something that you can use for multiple situations, I think would be a good idea. But you need to make sure you replace those batteries from time to time, and that way it doesn't, even lithium, like in particular, because those are probably more dangerous in the long run.
Yeah, good point. So that probably covers it for the most part, right? You got your to be a well-rounded man in your vehicle. You have the equipment you need in case of emergency, and you have the understanding, and you've already gone through a practice run. So so that's vehicle maintenance. Just in general, we covered like some. But so how do you learn all this stuff? That's a good question too. And YouTube is.
I think nowadays there's no reason. You have no excuse nowadays.
Well, number one is you can reference the manual. Now, for example, my vehicle, we'll take the F-150. It's one of the most popular trucks in the nation, right? So F-150 has, not only does it come with a manual, but you have a manual that nowadays, if you have a newer one, you can go through the menu system and access the manual.
In the car
on the touchscreen.
Nice. That's great. That's way better.
So it's right there, assuming you have power to the menu, or you can just do it on your phone. But
because I know in the past when like manuals get used, if you back in the day anyway, when it was way cheaper to get your own parts. And so it's like grease and like it's like bent all out of shape. Like
Well, you would be able to go into an auto parts store and find the Ford F-150 manual, and it was like a Haynes manual or Chilton or whatever it was, right? And then it was
like the first that and then Atlas. That was like the first two things you'd buy like day of when you get a car.
Exactly. See, so Yeah, you would say, you, well, now you got your phone, but yeah, if you didn't, then you were buying an atlas and you were learning how to read a map, and that's a whole other discussion topic
Yeah.
is how to read a map.
Okay, so let's modernize this a little bit. Like I think step one is you should have a book, but let's say that's not going to happen. You should bare minimum like have that downloaded to your phone, not like you have the website. You have it like a PDF on your phone or something. I think that would be
Yeah,
a
I don't
good
know
start.
how. I haven't tried that because my owner's manual is electronic as well. I don't have. I still have the owner's
Yeah.
book or whatever, but
Well, I was
I
able.
don't open that.
I'm sure because I was able to find it for my car, but I have the book. But I was just like, well, I'm not going to go all the way outside and go to the parking lot and
Right.
go get it. So I like looked it up, and um, I didn't think about downloading because I have the book, but I think that would be a good
Mm.
start. Is to maybe download that. So I'm going to do that.
Yeah,
I'm going to take my
I
own
wish I
advice.
could get. But if I go through the app on my phone, I have an app for my
Yeah.
vehicle, and even for the F-150, it was the same thing. You could go through the app to find
Yeah, but don't you need
the.
internet?
Yes, you
I
need a
think that's the
phone.
important thing is the
You need a phone
like
that has internet. Yeah.
yeah, when you have the emergency mind as far as like your
Hmm.
kit, I think you should
Yeah.
assume that your phone's not going to work,
Yeah.
power included.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good point. So
Because I
how do
think
you
one of the
get
first
that?
things, yeah, I think one of the first things that someone would do, like this is probably a scenario that I feel like would happen more often than not, is they're trying to use their phone as like a flashlight or like look things up, and then they
Yeah.
fucking drop it in a puddle or like step on it
Yeah.
or something, and then now they got their tire half off, like trying to figure this out. And
Yeah.
it's like, okay, well, let's assume that that's gonna either be broken or not work at all. Like, and so I think if you have as contingencies, like have it downloaded there, but you also assume you're not gonna have the book.
Hmm. Yeah. I have yet to buy one because I'm just
Well,
I
you got it
wanted to buy
digitally
one,
there.
but I
It's
don't.
like on the
I have plenty
thing.
of flashlights in
Yeah.
my shop, but
Yeah, you need
the
one for the car for sure.
headlamp
Well, a
is a
headlamp would be
great
really good
light to
too.
have in emergencies because
Yep.
you're hands free and it's pointing at whatever you're looking at,
Yeah.
and it's usually nowadays they're pretty bright.
Yeah.
So
Well, there's
and they're
I
cheap.
say I think there's an argument to have both a headlight and like another light that you could angle,
Yeah. Yeah.
because there's sometimes when it's like you need something coming from the back, because your hands are kind of like in the way of the light. I know I've been in that situation quite a few times,
Oh, sure.
and
The
it's
side
like,
light.
yeah, and
You need studio lighting.
yeah, yeah,
And
you
then
need
the-
camera crew and like
Yeah.
yeah, but that was something I found. So
Scalpel.
that's actually a good
You
point.
need
So
a nurse.
yeah, so I think
Forceps.
having a
Scalpel.
headlamp, that's probably, either way at least bare minimum that. But I think that you should have a secondary flashlight as well. That would be good for other stuff as well.
You need someone to wipe the sweat off your forehead,
Yeah,
your brow.
yeah. You need a headlamp
'Cause-
that is like also a bandana.
Yeah. In whatever color your gang sign is.
Yeah.
Hey, you need help changing a tire?
Actually, so speaking of like,
You're on the wrong side of town, but I still help you out.
there are people that used to like just they take the tires off and like leave it on the blocks of concrete.
Yeah.
Cinder
Oh
blocks.
man. Oh yeah.
Which it's like that's a lot of
Yeah,
weight
you want your
for a
rims
cinder
gone,
block, man.
park in the wrong neighborhood.
Yeah. Like I feel like that's a lot of weight, right? Like
Oh well, cinder blocks. I mean, they're sturdy. They're designed to hold weight
yeah, but isn't that with like concrete
that
in the hole,
orientation.
like filled in?
Well, okay. So filling the cell, yeah, they do concrete. They'll build in the house. Some of the cells they will fill for extra rigidity. But yeah, I mean, in general, the concrete block is a pretty efficient
Yeah. Well, I know you can
shape
sit on it. I've done that.
too. Yeah, I mean, it'll hold quite a bit of weight. But but the way they orient it is not the way you would sit on it,
Yeah.
because the weight doesn't transfer the same that way. But yeah, they designed it to.
Yeah.
I can't remember what the load rating is for blocks,
Yeah.
I'm sure it's quite a bit.
Yeah.
If you hit it on the side, it breaks, but
Yeah, because I
vertically,
know from like doing construction, it was like super weaker than
yeah,
I thought it would be. Like it's like, oh
yeah,
shit,
yeah.
like you got to be careful. Like just a tap with
But
the old mason
but
hammer. Yeah,
in
yeah,
a
but
wall with
as one.
cement, yeah, yeah, with your powers combined.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you
Um.
had rebar, I mean, you can put
Oh
rebar
yeah,
in there,
that's true.
right?
Yeah.
Fill the cell,
Yeah.
put a rebar, have it in there. Then that wall's not going anywhere because, well, it's connected to the foundation, and that rebar
Yeah.
is coming up, so that's tied in right there. So, I mean, you have it turns into one piece after all the mortar, all
Yeah.
the cement dries.
Yeah.
Amazing
Yeah.
how that works, but yeah. So, but yeah, I think a lot of guys nowadays, if they're into cars, they already know all this stuff. They're already interested in it. If they're not
Yeah.
into
Yeah.
it, and some guys aren't. Well, then they rely on roadside assistance. But at bare minimum, I don't see anything wrong with a guy understanding the systems of the car, basic systems, and how they function.
Well, I think.
And because you may not ever need to know, but if you ever did need to know and you didn't, like, well, that's on you.
Yeah, I think we can land on the. I'm okay with roadside assistance and doing all that stuff because you're probably paying for it anyway.
Yeah.
But you need to know how to do all these other things in the event that there's a woman in the car.
Well,
Because you don't want to call roadside assistance at that moment. You want to show her what's up.
well, not for a tire. Not
Yeah.
so okay. So look at the cost, right?
Yeah.
If you get a flat tire and you have a spare,
Yeah,
some
that's
cars
true.
don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some cars don't have a spare. Like my M3 did not have a spare because race car or whatever
Oh
people
yeah.
are gonna say, right? But
Don't
it's
want
a
that
sports
extra
car,
weight.
so
Yeah.
it doesn't have a jack. It didn't come with any of that. It didn't come with a spare tire. It just came with a fix a flat kit, and that's just to get you down the road, pretty much. So
Yeah.
you can plug it, plug your tire. Oh,
Yeah.
another thing.
Well,
That's
that's
another
yeah,
thing.
how to do that. Yeah,
Have a
which
tire
is super
plug.
easy.
Pull it.
Like,
You got to have your multi-tool to pull the nail
yep.
out or the
Yep.
screw, and then you plug it real quick, and then you have some way to pump the tire back up. But yeah, if you don't have a pump, and some car, like for example, my car came with no jack, but it had the fix a flat kit and it had the pump
Yeah.
that you could plug into the cigarette lighter. Anyway, but I have a separate pump anyway, so that's one thing I carry with me all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. I've got as long as your car works, then
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I have a battery. I have a battery operated one.
Okay. I
So I
got
got a
the
couple
cheaper one.
things.
You
I
gotta plug it in
have
cigarette lighter.
I have a multi-tool. I have a little tiny vacuum because I like to keep my car clean.
Yeah.
I
Actually, I
have a
used
tire
to, and when I was in
pump.
Japan, I had like a travel one when I got a rental.
Yeah.
But yeah, I need to get one for this car.
Well, Devin came up, and he liked mine so much he ordered the same one.
Oh yeah, send me a picture because I do need to get one.
Yeah.
Because I got the dog, So
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, it's pretty cool. It's compact. But yeah, I have so there's a tire pressure gauge in that
yep,
too.
that's in my.
So if I ever
my
run out of,
yeah, that's in
you
my
know,
inflator.
and I have some sort of flashlight or something. So yeah, it's basically those three things I think are critical. And of course, this particular vehicle comes with a spare tire and a jack and
Yeah.
the lug nut wrench and stuff like that. So yeah, that'll cover most of the bases.
I just thought about two other things that three other things that you probably should have, and it's funny because it's like the movie trope of like when they're trying to find the killer and they open the trunk, like what's in there, like rope, duct tape, and a shovel.
And a shovel.
You should have those.
Yeah, because
the utility shovel.
Stuck,
yeah.
and you need a rope to tie yourself off to the tree.
Yeah.
And you need a shovel to dig yourself out. You need duct tape.
And duct tape
is
very useful. Like,
yeah, I know.
Well,
duct tape is good for a lot of stuff.
The other thing is like you potentially could like for like maybe a short period of time like use that for punctures and stuff. Like, I'm not sure if it does work. It works for boats. So
yeah. because it is very sticky and it
Yeah.
repels water. I'm sure. I don't know if it's hydrophobic, but
Yeah. But if
it'll
you
fill the.
you know if you need to take a dump too, you're gonna need that shovel.
Oh, another thing I have
Been
all
there
the
before.
time is I have a microfiber cloth just for
Because
the window and
you
the
gotta make it
glass.
look nice.
Yeah, well, because it's like sometimes I adjust it, and I have a box of tissues just in case.
I do have a box of tissues like all the time
And then
because
I have the little
I need to blow my
vacuum, and
nose.
these are creature comforts. Yeah, if I sneeze or blow my nose, or girls get in the car, it's always nice to have some sort of
Yeah,
tissue or something.
yeah, because you know they're gonna be crying and they're gonna need it.
Oh, I know every time because I can't control the words that are coming out of my mouth.
You fixed the car so fast.
Oh, I love you. I think I want to get married.
Like, okay, so
Whoa,
you need
whoa,
an
whoa.
ejector
Hold on.
seat
It's the first
as
date.
well.
It's the first date. Moving too fast. I never dated a guy that could change a tire.
Well,
Oh,
speaking of the ladies there, so sort of. So what about the those overachiever maintenance things? Tasks for dudes that think of their car like a lady, treat their car like a lady. What are those? Not necessarily necessary tasks that like one would do if he's like in love with his car.
hmm. Oh, like having a tiny vacuum in the back.
Yeah, have a
Just
tiny vacuum in the back.
physically
Yeah, yeah. So you definitely need that.
well, I would say because we didn't talk about
Like
the
waxing or
cleaning.
something like that, right? Like, yeah,
Yeah, a lot of guys, if they love their car, well, they're keeping it as clean as they can. Usually, it's a reflection of who they are or whatever.
yeah,
It's an extension of yourself in some ways.
yep.
Some people probably think of it that way. But yeah, I do absolutely because I will judge people based on how clean their car is. So if you go on a date with a girl and
Oh,
you
yep,
happen to like say you bring her back or whatever, because ideally you should be driving and controlling the interaction. But say you eventually get to the point where you see her vehicle and
yeah,
it's trashed, that is just a sign of a chaotic, and women are by nature chaotic. Feminine energy is
yep.
considered chaotic. So again, don't hate me, but
No,
that's what.
we're trying to get momentum here, so we want the chat going crazy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I mean, that's true. Ask anybody. Anybody in the spiritual world
Yeah,
is gonna think of feminine energy is a chaotic
yeah,
energy, and masculine is would be more logical or
yeah.
reserved or calm and stuff,
What
and consistent
I
and
totally,
confident, right?
yeah, I totally agree about the
But
car thing because we talked about that earlier. Well, not earlier, but before, where it's like you go to their house and they know you're coming, so they clean that up real nice. But the car, for whatever reason,
yeah, yeah,
they don't like. Even if they know you're gonna go in that car at some point, they
yeah.
don't even touch it, and it's like, okay, that's a red flag, fucking right
That's
there.
why I look at the car.
Yeah,
because
I
a lot of
always look.
times
I
their
do too.
place
Yeah, I look at the car
will be
too.
clean.
Like, what's going on in that back seat there? Like, what do you got? How much
And
trash is back there? Like,
well, not only that, what's going on in the front seat and the
oh
glove?
yeah, that's true. Yeah, because it does
there's just
eventually bleed
stuff
over.
everywhere.
Yeah,
In the trunk,
yeah. Oh
check the
man.
tires. There's a bunch of
Oh
memes
yeah,
out
like
now.
bald tires. Like
Yeah,
Jesus.
bald. Yeah, like the same girl that says X, and then look, and it shows a picture of the tires, and they're like literally bald. Like there's no tread
Yeah, yeah.
whatsoever. It's like a
It's like
slick.
you're like racing on these tires, like super slicks.
No, that's just thing.
Like that
I
thing
have
is
so
about to
many stories.
explode. Like,
I have so many stories. So there was a girl I was dating at one point. She, I didn't see this happen, but again, this is a part of being a guy in a relationship. Say you're in a relationship, things are going well, there's a good back and forth and give and take. Well, I absolutely think you should be the guy and you should handle the maintenance as best you can for your lady.
yep.
Now, in this particular case, my story begins with her calling me, and it was a rainy day, and she said, "Oh my gosh, I'm so scared. I just spun around on the highway or on the road." I'm like, "What do you mean you spun around?" She's like, "Well, there was
I
someone
was
stopped in front of
dancing in
me,
the
and
rain and
I turned the wheel to avoid them, and I hit the brakes, and I just spun around." I was like, spun around. I was like, how fast were you going? She
Yeah.
was like, what, 20, 30 miles an hour, which was the speed limit on this road near where I lived. And I was like,
Wait.
what do your tires look
Yeah,
like?
hang on. Like
And
20.
she's like, oh, I don't know.
That's got to be real hard to do. Like,
Yeah, right. So anyway, it turns out her tires were indeed in need of repair,
yeah.
but she's not paying attention to this, right?
Yeah.
So what I did, because like I said, we did things for each other. I just
I
went
bet you
ahead
did.
and bought a set of tires, a new set of tires for her car. I called the shop, I scheduled it, and I said, "Hey, bring your car here. It's already taken care of. They're going to put new tires on your car." And she was like, "What? Wow, really? Wow, no one's ever done this for me." Blah blah blah. And it's just a
Yeah.
thing that's because and I got her Michelin at the
Oh.
time that all season 3 was out, and
Oh.
was a decent tire,
Yeah.
So I got decent tires and paid for it, and everything was good to go. So, but yeah, and I think that's stuff you should do. Yeah, you may
Yeah.
not do everything. If you can take the car up there and deal with the people too, great. I just didn't have the time at that moment to
Yeah,
leave work and do
because
it, but she
that's
could
also
come by.
part of the deal too. Is they're more likely to get screwed over with that kind of stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then just typically these service providers and everybody knows that women don't, again, they don't understand the systems of a car. They understand how it works and they're emotional.
Yeah.
So they might be susceptible to someone saying, hey, if you don't do this, bad
Yep.
things might happen.
Yep.
Well, and if they happen to have the money, or even if they don't have the money, they still might do it. Right. So it takes a guy
They'll
to
find
know
it.
better and to sort it out. So yeah, I think if that's the case, you gotta take care of your lady's car too, just like you would your car. So wash it,
Yep.
maintain it, do the oil changes, do everything that you can, because that's your domain.
Yeah.
The kitchen and the laundry may not be your domain, but
Yeah.
the vehicle maintenance, yard work, mowing the lawn, trimming the hedges, fixing stuff around the house,
Toilets. Yep.
handyman, toilet, yeah, plumbing, any electrical, like that should be your domain. You should
Yeah.
understand
And
ideally and know how to fix that stuff.
I think you definitely should know how to fix it. I think if you want like a cutoff, like when you should be responsible for it, I think it's reasonable to say like at bare minimum when you're like not necessarily living with each other, but spending a lot of time at each other's apartments.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah, sure.
I think that's the cutoff. Like once you reach that stage of the relationship, then you need to take on those responsibilities. Now, actually,
if everything's going well,
yeah,
you're getting your needs met as a man, then by all means meet her needs
yep,
too. So but if shit's not going well and she's bitchy and
yep,
complaining and maybe you're not getting what you want out of it, well then
yeah,
I probably would not go the extra mile
yeah,
and be doing anything, because if
yeah,
you're not helping me,
yeah.
I'm
There
not helping
better
you
be some
to some extent.
Yeah, there better be some meals or some kind of like I don't know what
Back
would be
rubs,
back rubs, something
front rubs. I don't care. Yep,
fellatio.
something.
Come on, man. Where's it end?
Yeah, a little dinner and a fellatio. Yeah. Yep.
It's funny. I was just thinking today with toilets, right? So, one, I'll give you my experience with toilets is, I think every place that I've ever lived, to include my parents' house, like there's always been something with the toilet that has to be fixed, and it's like an ongoing thing. Like there's always something wrong with it, and so like I have a lot of toilet experience, right? But now
it's either that or the drain.
Yeah,
and I'll give you 3 guesses as to why those get clogged. But
yeah. But so
learn how to fit. Just go ahead and buy a snake. Snake the drain.
The amount of times I've used one of those, man. Like
snake the shower if you can, because there's going to be hair and shit clogged, and that's just how it goes.
Yeah.
So,
well,
that's ongoing maintenance.
There's a lot, even though there's not a lot to a toilet, there's a lot that goes into a toilet. Pun intended there.
Like
right.
products, like feminine products.
Yeah. So
sometimes get flushed.
Like it's not a complicated system.
They say I don't think they say to flush those.
No, it's
but
it's definitely not.
Sometimes they do.
But well, the other problem is they put them down the regular drain, and it's like you kind of have to treat that stuff like paint. You got to go to like the store where they have like a special dumpster for that stuff. Yeah, they usually have like a drain pit, right? Like you where did I? It's kind of like when you dump oil, like you go to the auto parts store, and then it's something like that, but for paint. You go to like a paint store or something.
Or I'm just talking about girls in the bathroom. Sometimes they don't want to say they're fairly new, they're not comfortable yet in a relationship. They come over to your place. What they're going to most likely do is get rid of the evidence. They're going to flush it, whatever they have, down the drain. Tampons or whatever is going to go
poop
down the drain. Yeah, and then that could cause a clog. But because they're embarrassed, they don't want to wrap it up and put it in your trash can because you might find it later. So then they're going to flush it. It's like, well, okay. So you may just have to deal with it.
Yeah. Well, so one of the reasons I brought that up is one, because it's like, it's just, I have like, there must be some kind of like curse with me in toilets where it's like I'm constantly like working on them. So it's like, so I moved into this place, and it's like day one, the fucking toilet, like you flush it, and then the little the ball that like once it gets to a certain point, it's supposed to start like refilling again. It gets just to the tip of where that would be starting the process, and then it doesn't go any further. And so I opened the lid. This is why I haven't fixed it, is because I opened the lid and I very lightly touch the top of this thing, and it goes and starts working. It's like, so it's like it's like a couple of seconds, but it's kind of like throw pillows, you know. It's like it's starting to get to the point where I'm like, man, I gotta fix this fucking thing. But you know, you're in an apartment, so you know, technically you could just call the super or whatever. But I think there is I don't know if maybe there's a law like you have to use them, but I think as a man starting from zero, so let's say those guys with the cars, they probably don't know how to do a lot of stuff. I think a car might be a little intimidating to start with, but I think a toilet is a really easy system, because you can see everything very easily, and I think most toilets it's really easy to get to everything, and you could very easily like even like buying a product. So for example, I put in the bidet, and it's like so even though I know what I need to do, I looked at the little manual, and they only give you like a 4-page looking like fold out thing. And so it's basically like 1 page. So it's like a poster. But even with that, so I was like, if I didn't know what to do, I could just look at that, and it's so simple. The only thing that you might have a problem with is like the tools that you need for toilets. Because sometimes they have like the plastic nuts on there. So you don't want to use a tool on that, or if they have, you might need to have that rubber wrench thing. I don't know what the fuck it's called, but basically it's like so you don't strip the nut. When you're doing pipes, you can use like a rubber version that you tighten around the nut so you don't strip it. Yeah.
I don't think I've used one of those.
Yeah, well, I like it because you can take it off, meaning like you can open it completely, and then you can just wrap that rubber piece around. So if it's like kind of in an awkward place, you know, sometimes where you get like a 1/4 inch of like a turn, and then you got to reset, and like yeah. So for those, like you can actually just like wrap it around a lot easier and get like a different angle on it, because you have this like rubber thing on.
It's kind of like oil.
Yeah, it looks like that. It actually looks just like that.
The oil filter wrench, and it's basically like a rubber strap that you just tightens.
Yeah, it's basically just like that, but for because you get for plumbing. So that's how every time I move into a new place, first thing I do is buy a better shower head, because they all fucking suck. They always have it's not like some of them. It's just a matter of pulling the washer out. Like they got that. It's like a special washer.
Screen.
Yeah, and it
It's a high efficiency,
yeah, or
whatever.
low efficiency is what it really is.
Well, it reduces water, but
Yeah,
it may increase pressure a little bit because I
yeah,
guess because it's a reducer of some sort too.
yeah. So sometimes you can just pop that out and it'll be better, but your best bet is
Mm.
just to replace the whole thing. And it's really easy, but it's not easy to get off if you're not using that rubber
Mm.
tool. Like it's actually, unless they have they have someone that's it's just two flat sides on the like
Mm-hmm.
those are a lot easier because you can get it like a regular wrench and on there. But when they have the like weird like it's basically just like sandpaper almost like
Mm.
you can't really use anything except for the little rubber wrench there. Somebody
Mm.
sometime in the future in the chat like say what the hell that thing's called. But I swear by those. But yeah, I go for like the Mondo. I need to get a different one because the one that I bought for here, it's powerful, but it's not as powerful as I want it. I want that elephant nozzle.
Need more power.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It does have like on the top of it. So I have this like so there's a button you flip over and it has like a stream that you can switch to for like cleaning. And that thing is awesome. That's like a sandblaster. It's crazy. But that's for like
Do you
cleaning
have
the shower.
detachable type?
Yeah, it's obviously it's hooked up, but yeah, you can take it off. Because that's
I see. Okay.
that was like one of the main reasons I got it because it did have that higher pressure
Yeah.
option for cleaning the bathroom or the shower.
Yeah.
Because that's maintenance. Talking again, you got to do that too. And I feel like that's another thing like
What?
the car.
You gotta clean your shower.
Yeah, man.
What are you talking about? You mean you don't let mold start growing?
Yeah. Well, we were talking about
grout turns black.
Yeah. We were talking about the car, right? Like that's the other thing I look at sometimes is like, what's the shower look like?
Ooh, the bathroom.
Yeah. In particular, the drain, because people forget about the drain, and you'll see like black shit in there, and it's like, oh, you don't put a brush in there, do you? Like I get down there once a month.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was something I was thinking about. Is like if you're literally at zero as a man, I think a toilet's a good place to start.
Well, you could say start in your own whatever space is considered yours, like your bedroom,
Yeah.
your bathroom, your
Well, there's not
car.
too much in the bedroom though, right? Like there's like
I
everything's
mean,
maybe
you gotta make your bed.
well, yeah, okay,
clean,
yeah.
you gotta do
If we're talking about
laundry,
like self maintenance, but I was thinking like mechanical
Yeah.
brain, getting the man.
Nah, really not a lot unless your bed's falling apart or
Yeah.
something.
Well, actually, that's a thing too. Is like checking your furniture maintenance is something that people forget about.
Preach.
So like I think kitchen chairs are probably like the most common one where you notice like oh, this is loose or it's not really it's wobbling a little bit. And it's literally just a matter of like wear and tear, right? Like you just got to tighten it up.
Yeah.
That's it. It's like 2 seconds. And like nobody does it. Like you go to somebody's house, and it's like the chair for the past 5 years has been like has this problem.
Loose.
And it's just going to get worse over time.
Chair.
And I think usually people just buy new furniture. And it's like you literally could just tighten the one screw and then it'd be done.
Yeah. Yeah, I have not experienced that, but
yeah. Well, I guess sometimes you get like I think IKEA is probably a culprit of that, where you need to do maintenance on your furniture.
Oh yeah, I get it. Well, so this comes back to understanding how things work. So it sounds like there's an underlying core competencies that guys probably need to have. And I mean, yeah, you could probably in the future you could download all this stuff, but I remember there being books, and there probably still are books. When I was a kid, they were called How Things Work. And I used to like reading through those to understand how things work, right?
I don't know.
So
I think I
over.
had highlights instead.
It goes
those
over
highlights
all that.
magazines.
a lot of stuff, just, I mean, almost anything and everything is how it works. And
Yeah.
but yeah, but I mean, the reason why I understand vehicles is, one, I like cars. I like to work on my own cars. My dad was into cars, and in the military, I just happened to go into an easy MOS that I was familiar with,
Yeah.
which would be maintenance. So yeah, like I said, it's just
Hmm.
easy to do.
Does
But
your car
other
have
stuff
a lady
too.
name?
Uh, I thought about that. I never used to name my cars, and then one of
Lucille.
my girlfriends started naming my cars for me. And I was like, yeah, she said one was called something like, probably a name she didn't like, but she said Veronica. I was like, that sounds like a girl you would hate.
Yeah, that sounds like a real hot chick that you didn't like.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and she did that because she's like, oh, you spend so much time with your car.
You're out there with Veronica.
Yeah, yeah, I'm cheating on her with the
Yeah.
car.
You
Because girls will
you
get
remember that
jealous.
SNL, or was it SNL? I think it was
Mm.
uh
I
what the
think I
hell's
know
his
what you're
name?
talking about.
Yeah, and
He
not
was making
Andy
love to
Samberg,
his
but
car. It was
Chris
it was like,
Parnell. Yeah, and he was like,
yeah,
it was the car
it
that you
was
could
like
fuck.
the good mistress or something.
He had like a
Was that
vagina
what
in
you're talking about?
it.
Oh, geez, yeah, he was
Oh,
back there.
oh, that was back when you could actually like make comedy.
Yeah, yeah. Was that called like the something mistress? The
Yeah, it did have like a name like that.
Yeah, yeah. I think it was something like that.
Holy shit. That was fucking funny. I actually
There's
tried to
a
find that a long time ago. Same thing, because I know you know this. Remember when they had the razor blade, like with the semen or
oh, the Gillette
yeah,
razor, yeah.
but it was
But it was their version of Mad
yeah,
TV's
yeah, yeah. And so you can't
razor
find the
blade.
SNL one because
Oh
it was
my gosh.
yeah,
Yeah, that was
and
the best
it
one.
was the
And
funnier
it was
one.
like a
Yeah,
13
yeah,
blade razor.
yeah. And seemingly out of nowhere, a
Seemingly out of
13th
nowhere comes
blade,
an amazing 13th blade.
and he still had the beard after he shaved.
He was all cut up. It was bleeding.
Yeah, yeah. Because I understand like the Mad TV one was the first one, so they shouldn't have done it, but they did have the funnier one.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, but
SNL had the funnier one
where
in
is
particular.
that commercial
Yeah, I can't
now?
find it anywhere.
It's got to
Like,
be.
yeah, I looked for that.
How is that not a popular one that people remember?
Yeah,
We're the only two that remember that.
yeah. It's the Mandela effect, right?
If you
It's
believe,
like,
yeah, I was gonna say, if you believe in parallel
yeah,
universes, like maybe in the other universe that commercial didn't exist,
yeah. But
but we're on a different timeline now.
I watched one of those. It was like an hour and a half long, so good for that guy. He got an hour and a half watch time out of me on YouTube of like all the Mandela effect stuff, and like some of them weren't like they were like that's not really a Mandela effect, but so I'd say probably like there was a good like 10 of them that were like that's not really I don't know how to explain it. It was but it was like people mishearing something. That's not a Mandela effect, right? What the Mandela effect are the
like
ones
in
like
movies.
Yeah, like
the movie lines, like Luke, I'm your father versus
yeah. That's okay. So we all just misheard that. That's not the same. The same as like when things just get erased from history, and it's like like that freaking commercial, like
I know, because that's in my memory forever.
Yeah.
I'll never forget it.
Or there's another thing. I remember there was like a Harry Potter movie, and at the time I wasn't watching them, but I remember this commercial. And it was like the movie was originally called like Something Wicked This Way Comes, and they had like a song and everything that the kids were chanting. And
really?
And then they changed the name to the movie to like The Prisoner of Azkaban or something like that. And like I was like, wait a second, what happened to the other movie? Yeah. And then like nobody knew what that was, even like super duper Harry Potter fans. I was like, no, I know this happened. I watched it on TV. And then I saw the other one come out like at the same time, and I'm like, wait a second, why would they come out with two different movies? And it was like, no, this is the same movie. They just changed the name, and I to this day can't find it. Like,
Interesting.
but I know specifically that's what I saw. But yeah, so we were talking about not maintenance here, but the cameras, right? So you,
Which subject change?
yeah, because
Yeah,
it's technically in the thumbnail there,
yeah.
because I just
Cameras,
copy
fitness.
paste the ideas into
Oh yeah.
to get that
How
picture. I
much
don't
time
know
do we
why it came
have?
out there. Um, well, we got it as much as we want, I guess. But
Yeah, cameras. Well, I can definitely go over the camera recap from what happened since the last
yeah,
time I was on.
yeah, because I do want to make sure we cover that because we'll forget. I think.
For those guys out there that are interested in photography
Yeah,
and want to try, maybe you have a Leica, or maybe you want to try them.
yeah,
My my personal experience is obviously my own. Everybody likes different things, but so yeah, okay. So what happened last time? I went to the local Leica store. I purchased a Leica M10R. It was supposedly certified from Leica, maintained, 2-year warranty,
hmm
etc. Supposed to be in great condition. The guy said it had like 3,000 shutter clicks on it, so pretty low. He talked it up. He talked a big game, and he's like, "Yeah." So, I bought it over the phone, sight unseen. I said, "Ship it to me." $700 later, I get this thing in the mail. Excited, of course, because I now have a Leica camera. It's an M camera.
yeah.
It's top of the
The
line.
first Leica for you.
What? Yeah, first Leica. What everybody dreams, they get a Leica M camera because photographers seem to gravitate towards that stuff, and it's
hmm
a rangefinder style. So if you don't know what a rangefinder is, look it up. But yeah, so I get this. Also with this, I get a lens, a 50 millimeter semi-lux, which again, if you don't know what that is, look it up. But it's the newest version.
Okay.
4,300 dollars for the lens. So
God
I'm like
damn.
10 grand, almost 11 grand
Holy shit.
in right now for a camera, one lens. Top of the line. Keep in mind, it's supposed to be German engineering, top of the line,
Yep.
whatever.
Yep.
Well, I guess I just don't fall in love with the rangefinder at this time. So I'm not in love with the rangefinder the way it works. That um, primarily, maybe I'm just used to SLRs through the lens, type viewing and stuff. Because if you look through the lens, most cameras now are, well, either they're mirrorless or the professional SLR stuff used to all be through the lens
hmm
type of viewing and metering, etc. So you would see exactly what you would get. But with a rangefinder, you don't see exactly what you get. You're
Yeah.
looking through another window that is pointing in the same direction as your lens, but you're not looking through the lens. So if your lens cap is on, you may not know,
Oh.
and you may just take a picture because you can't see the lens caps on,
Yeah.
right? Now that didn't happen to me, but it could,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
if you're
Yeah.
not paying attention. So
Well, especially if you're in the moment, right?
yeah,
Oh
if you're in the
shit! Look, I
moment,
got to
yeah.
take a picture of that.
Maybe you're a street photographer. You're
Yeah.
probably not walking around with lens cap on anyway. But
Yeah.
anyway,
Safety
so
caps on.
long story short, to not dwell on this topic forever, but to get to the recap part, it's like, so I get the M10R. It's a 40 megapixel camera. It has live view, it has focus peaking, and it has a lot of cool stuff of a modern camera, touchscreen, which worked pretty good. But I wasn't impressed with the lens, number one. And then the camera, by the time I got it, it had like scratches and marks and stuff on it.
Yeah.
Looked like to me it had been well used,
Yeah.
not the pristine mint condition, 3,000 shutter clicks camera that was described to me. So I call them back. If I fell in love with the rangefinder, I would keep it, but I want something cleaner than that anyway, because
Yeah.
usually all the cameras I have, even the used ones, like even old film cameras I have, are still like in really nice in mint condition.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say they're perfect with no marks on them, but a lot of it is like there's no marks on it. It is a mint condition, example of that camera
Yeah.
and lenses and stuff like that. So I have some nice film cameras that are on the more expensive side. I have like pro level cameras from the 1980s and the lenses that go with it. And even still today, those aren't cheap.
Yeah.
You might pay, even okay. I got our lens recently. It's a 24 millimeter 1.4 L lens for the FD Canon FD mount, which is
Yeah.
the film lens. That thing costs $2,700 for the lens.
Damn.
You're thinking, what? This is even a digital lens. This is a film lens, a manual focus lens. It costs almost $3,000.
Damn.
Well, but that's what they're going for because they're
Yeah.
so rare, and it's in good condition. The glass is clean, all that stuff. So, and even that's on the cheaper side. I've seen them go up to 5, $6,000 for that version, and
Well, I
even
guess because
they make an
there's
older
not as
version.
many of them around, right? Like
They're
it's
just, yeah, they're pretty
oh
rare, and a lot of guys are buying those up, those old FD uh, higher end lenses for film
yeah.
because they shoot videos. So they're
Oh right.
rehousing them.
Yeah, yeah.
They're using them as film or cinema lenses, and they're rehousing them and putting the gears on the outside so they can do their rack focusing and stuff
Yeah.
like that, and manual
Okay.
focus and all that. But yeah, so that's what a lot of those lenses are doing double duty nowadays. As they're either mounted with adapters on digital, cameras like mirrorless cameras, like I'm doing,
Hmm.
or that. Anyway, so back to the M. So anyway, I return the M. It's not pristine like I wanted, and I just don't think I like the rangefinder experience. I didn't fall in love with it. I used it for like a week, and I was like, yeah, it's not really my thing. Plus, what I found out was to make the M cameras more bearable, a lot of guys will put on a grip, a hand grip, so you can hold it easier
Yeah,
because
when I
it's
was
just
looking
a
at that thing,
little.
it looked like a toy.
Yeah, it's like
Like
a little rat. It's small. If you have big hands, it's even harder to hold probably. And
big
since
American
you're,
hands.
yeah, big American hands. Yeah. So you're looking through the rangefinder, the viewfinder there, and the rangefinder, and because you can't see through the lens exactly what you're getting, a lot of guys will also add an EVF, an electronic viewfinder that clips on the top, and it electronically connects to the camera, and it gives you a little thing to look through, like an eyepiece,
Okay.
and
Well,
there's a little screen in there.
so
So it's like
but
they're
at that
turning
point,
it
like, why would you
into
get that camera if you're gonna do all that?
exactly, yeah, exactly.
Like,
I have my reason, and I can speculate why someone would spend the most money. Well, number one, you gotta, I guess, I don't know if people just like having the top of the line
well, I think
stuff
that's
just to
that's
have
a
it.
probably a big portion of
That
it.
could be one reason, but yeah, you're buying one of the most expensive cameras. I'll give it to you that it's German made and it's pretty high quality. It's heavy. It feels solid. Okay, that part I like. The lens, though, is also supposed to be the same thing. Well, I think they're tending towards a cheaper, less.
Uh,
Maybe the tolerances aren't what they used to be because the
okay.
lens doesn't feel any more solid than the Voigtlander lenses I had for my Nikon.
Okay.
So, that being said, I think the brand new, $5,000 Summilux lens or whatever, I didn't pay $5,000 for mine, but yeah, they even reselling it. I had an open box one that I used because I
Mhm.
just basically put it on the M. I used it for a week, and I was like, okay, I don't want this anymore. I called back the place I bought it from, and they said, oh, well, we'll buy it back from you, but we're only going to give you $2,500. I was like, well, I mean, like new from the Lego store, this thing will cost $5,000 plus
Yeah.
tax. Like, how is this lens now worth open box,
Yeah.
like pristine, to a reseller half as much? Well, I know they got to make
Because
their
they got to
money,
make money. Yeah.
but dude, that's
That's a big
crazy.
profit that they're gonna be
These are
making.
these are supposed to be the best lenses, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so somehow I think over time they're just tending towards making a cheaper camera, and they're no longer made of brass like they used to be. They're no longer as solid.
Mm.
They're getting lighter weight. Some parts are made with brass, some are not. Some lenses are made of brass, some are not anymore. The one I have is particularly the one I got is
Mm.
aluminum because it's a newer version. But I could get an older version made of brass and it'd be heavier.
Hmm.
Hopefully the tolerances will be tighter, but this doesn't feel like a high quality
Yeah.
lens to me. The camera felt okay. So anyway, what I ended up getting, so I end up keeping the 50 millimeter because I wanted to get another Leica to try out. And the one I ended up getting was an SL2S. The SL3s have just come out, and
Okay.
those brand new are 6 or 8 grand or something. And I'm not spending that, at least not right now, on it. But now that I know I really like it, maybe I will.
He says
So
SL2S
the SL2S, yeah, the Leica SL2S, SL2-S,
dash
and that
S.
is a reasonable price. I think I paid $2,700 for that, and it's the last
Yeah, that looks
generation.
about
So,
right.
like I said, the new generation SL3, those that just came out like this
Yeah,
year,
there's like 5 grand.
roughly. Yeah, brand new. But the SL2, you can get those used for 2,500 up to 3,000, pretty consistently. I mean, if you pay 3 grand, you can get a nice condition. The one I
This is
got is basically perfect, not a scratch on it. Looks brand new. So, but yeah, I'm real happy with that because it's got that solid build quality that Leica is known for, and it has the grip, which I was going to have to put on the M anyway, and it has an EVF that I was probably going to get frustrated and put on the M anyway. So
yeah.
for way less money, um, I have a camera that I think I really enjoy. It's still mirrorless. It has in body stabilization, which the M did not have, but it basically has the same sort of touchscreen. It's got a very nice EVF. Everybody raves about the
Yeah.
viewfinder being so big and high resolution. And yeah, everything else is cool. It's the minimalist design, which I like. I appreciate it. It's heavy, like I said. The shutter click, if you're into that sort of thing, it sounds really cool. I like it. So
There we go.
yeah,
Sorry, it's a small
I
picture,
could
but there it
wait. If
is.
I send you a picture, if I send you a picture of it, can
Yeah,
you
I can
post it?
actually. It'll take me a minute. So if you
Let
send it,
me
but also
shoot it
talk,
over.
then
Where do I have to send it? To your
yeah, you can
email?
just text it, and
I can text it.
then I
Okay.
can airdrop it to my computer.
Richard Patton.
Yeah, that'll be better because I can make it a bigger image. I don't know why. Sometimes when I do these images online, they make them really small, and I can't make them bigger on this program. I can't figure out how to do that. So, um, yeah, I guess I could extend it, but then I got to do that over and over again. Kind of a pain in the ass.
Okay, well here I'll send you 2 pictures
All
of
right,
these are the camera with a couple different lenses.
cool.
But
Now, okay, so
yeah, so
I know
that's how it
you
went down.
like this SL 2S there. Now,
I like this
yeah, I like
Leica.
this like a yeah. So tell me, okay, first, well, no, okay, I know why a lot of people want a Leica, but
mm,
why? Who is a Leica actually for? Like, let's take the money
mm.
out of it. Like, who's this
Well, the
actually designed
money's
for?
a big part of it though.
Yeah, but there's got to
So
be a practical use for this thing. Like like
well, okay,
on
so
top of what, like getting a Canon or Nikon.
oh, I see what you're saying. You're okay.
Like, what's the
So you're saying
functional
yes,
reason?
it's expensive. Functionally,
Yeah.
okay, there's a couple things. I would say maybe not everybody, but some people like the aesthetics of whatever it is, a car, a motorcycle, a house, a camera, whatever. Some people appreciate the design and aesthetics. Well, I am a designer by trade, so I look for that sort of stuff anyway. So I like the way it looks, but of course it has to function. So it needs to take pictures. It needs to make it easy for me, an enjoyable process, right?
Yeah.
So one thing, yeah, there's wow, that's huge. That like covers the whole screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, so anyway, I took this picture, this particular, that's my Leica SL2 with the lens I told you about. That's
Yeah.
the 50 millimeter Swimming Lux lens that I am not in love with. The images come out really good, but the tactile feel, because it's a manual focus lens and the
Uh-huh.
aperture ring, that's the only things that you move on that lens, right? It's not much better. I would argue it's probably not as good as the Voigtlander lens that I had for my Nikon. I had two of them. I had a 15 millimeter and a 40,
Interesting.
and I kind of liked the aperture ring on the
Now,
Voigtlander better.
now is this because I'm curious because is that lens a new lens or is it like an older lens? You know what I mean?
Well, so I sent you two pictures. The
Yep.
one,
Okay. So I'll
that
pull that one up.
one, the picture that you have up now is of the brand new lens. I think that lens came out in 2023. So it's the newest version they make of that 50 millimeter lens. And that is an M lens, which is adapted to this SL2. So the lens mount's a little different. So I need an adapter to put on there.
Okay.
So in this case, I have an M to L adapter,
Okay.
which is a little short. It's about 3/8 of an inch long. It's a ring that you put on, and you put one lens type onto another lens type. But yeah, anybody who's a photographer knows what an adapter is.
Well, I'm
But for those that don't,
trying to pull up this other
that's
one.
now the other one, the other lens that you see,
So I'm gonna pull that up here.
that is a older Voigtlander lens. It's still silver, so I like the
God
look
damn.
of the silver lens. Yeah, I like the look of the silver lens on the black body. For whatever reason, I just like mechanical stuff, so anything metallic and silver I like.
There we go. That
So
looks
this
good.
lens
Look at that.
is, and you can see the adapter on the back too. It looks like a little different, looks more like
Yeah,
a
yeah.
gray color. Well, that's actually a close focus adapter with a helicoil that allows me to basically extend the lens sort of like a mini extension tube, so I can actually get closer to my subject if I want to.
So is that rotation or is that extension?
That little piece you see on the
Yeah.
back, that you can put your finger on and rotate it around,
Okay, okay. That's what,
and it pushes the lens out like a quarter of an inch.
interesting. Okay.
And believe it or not, I can get almost a foot closer to my subject than
Just with that
I was before, just with
quarter of
that.
it.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow, that's
So
crazy.
it almost cuts. So as it rotates, it extends, if that makes sense. The
Yeah, yeah.
helicoil is built into that. But anyway, that is actually a Chinese adapter. If nobody's tried it, they want to. I'm sure if you're in the M community, you know, but it's Light Lens Lab makes it, and
Light lens lab.
Light Lens
Okay.
Lab. They make some cool stuff
Yeah.
for cameras, and they're Chinese. It's a Chinese company, so if you have an aversion to Chinese and you're only buying German, well, then that's fine.
Yeah.
But I wanted to try this. But anyway, that lens that's on there is a Voigtlander lens from 2008,
Hmm.
and it's a 35 millimeter 1.2, which is really um, fast. It's a wide aperture. For those that know what that means, it lets in a lot of light because it just basically opens up the front of the lens.
Yeah.
The way it's designed lets more light in than most lenses. They're usually not 1.2. It's usually pretty fast. But anyway, I found that used on eBay for a pretty good price. And it's like one of my favorite things now because it's a solid brass lens. It's heavy, it's well built, it's smooth focusing.
Yeah.
It's like a tank. Well, the camera is like a tank too, so it's perfect.
I was gonna say
You know,
like the because I don't particularly like the. I understand because they're kind of going bare bones as possible, so that's why they have the look. But it kind of I how the lens looks like it looks robotic, or you know what I mean. Like it looks like a machine, like a tank, as you mentioned. It makes that camera look so much better.
yeah.
Because it gives it some additional life there. So because I like the cameras that look like the lens, right? I like the cameras that look like they're a machine. So like your Canons or Nikon. When they were making the was that the Z series or whatever that is that you have? What's that?
Oh, the Nikon ZF.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That like that old kind of a mechanical looking camera design from what is that, the 80s, I
Oh,
guess.
yeah. Yep.
Yeah, that's what I like about cameras as far as like aesthetics go. But for now, I'm getting into the like why Leicas, right? So
Okay, so why?
yeah,
Okay, so some people here's again, I'm learning along, this is just my journey. I started a lot later. I've been into photography since the early, I would say mid to late 2000s,
Yeah.
right? So it's been almost 20, ooh, man, yeah, 20, roughly 15 to 20 years that I've been into it. And, ever since I heard about Leica way back in the day, I always wanted a Leica M3 film camera because I
Sick.
started out shooting film. I just sent you a picture of that lens. So this is the same lens that you were looking at mounted on Leica. You can just now
Wow,
see
it
the
looks
front
great.
element and see how it says 35, 1.2, a spherical,
Yes.
whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I took that picture the other day and just so you can kind of see the front of the lens. But
That's pretty cool
it's a
though.
beautiful lens
Yeah,
and
it
it's
is.
solid, it's heavy,
That's like a
like,
great
and it's
picture because it looks like
tactile.
that should be in the advertisement for this thing.
Shot in a studio, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a photographer,
Yeah, I
if you
know,
didn't
right?
know, so I can take
Yeah.
decent
Oh,
pictures.
actually, yeah, that's a good point. This actually is brought to you by um, Gould Photography. So,
This episode, huh?
yeah, and future episodes technically. I'll make that commercial
All
later
right.
though. But I got to write it and make it entertaining.
Okay.
But and you also
Yeah.
you have to send me some things for that as well, so I can put it all together.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Some
yeah. Okay.
shots with your hair blowing in the wind and
Right.
on mountaintops.
Yeah. Let
Maybe
me
carrying logs, like that'd be good.
chopping wood.
Yeah.
What? He's the photographer, but all I can see he's doing is just chopping wood.
Yeah, I gotta hire that guy. Look at him.
Is he a lumberjack photographer?
Yeah.
West Virginia? In the mountains of West Virginia? Appalachia? Yeah. Oh. I'm yodeling.
Say cheese. That's more like a fight announcer. Say cheese. Okay, so
all right, back to
Leica,
the Leica.
yeah.
All right. Some people, and this is what I've heard over the years, right? Some people say, "Oh, the colors that come out of the Leica."
I don't know. I
Well,
didn't like. I've seen your
it's
pictures and
same.
they're pretty similar. Like,
It's the same. It's the same sensor now as in the Lumix camera. I think. I
okay,
think they literally collaborated with Lumix to make it because I saw just this week I saw a YouTube video where
okay,
someone compared the Leica to the Lumix GX GX5 or something, whatever it was, the comparable Lumix camera, and they're like, yeah, here's the photo on the left and here's the photo on the right. Guess which one is the Leica? Guess which one's the Lumix? And I don't think you could pick them out. They were
yeah,
literally the same. So okay, so that's out, right? It's not the colors. Well, maybe it's the build quality. Yeah, I like that part of it.
yeah.
Maybe it's the name. If your ego prefers that, possible. The process, it being heavy, well built, tactile, the shutter sound, the manual focus lenses. Again, I like all that stuff, but really, I think it. My Nikon ZF has arguably, in some ways, they're both happen to be 24 megapixel sensors, so it's not like it's
Mhm.
got more megapixels, but the low light's pretty good on both of them. I mean, it's reasonable. Usually 6400, 12,000 is probably the max, but you can push it up to, you know, 20, 30, 40. I've even pushed the Leica up to 50,000. It's pretty rough once you get that high, but it
Mm.
will go that high if you had to, an emergency, right? Still, yeah, I mean, you're spending a little more money too. I mean, I basically knew the ZF was $2,000. Brand new that this Leica SL2 was probably, I think it was probably somewhere around the $5,000 mark,
Dang,
but I didn't
yeah.
pay 5 grand for that. So there's a little money part of it, but yeah, I guess why people would shoot it, I don't know. I would argue that you can get the same, if not better functionality and maybe image quality out of some Nikon, especially the new lenses. They're
Mhm.
really good. Leica has a great set of lenses too, so there's probably not much difference there with the new Nikon S lenses and the Leica lenses. They've been
Mm.
pretty good. They're all weather seal, so they're all getting closer and closer. I think that where cameras may have differed in the past, technology um, incremental improvements over time is just making
Yeah.
everything better and better. So who's the Leica for? Well, you can't ignore the money part
Yeah.
because there's that. And the truth is too, some of the other functionality is even harder to deal with in the Leica system because Canon and Nikon just do it better.
Hmm.
So maybe now the Leica SL3 has a better autofocus system, but that's just the last year that they came out.
I mean,
Last
that's
year or
just
this
one
year.
point as well. Like,
Yeah,
that's like
well,
going from like
autofocus.
a iPhone 15
Yeah,
to a 16. You know, like it's what did you actually change here?
yeah.
Like,
Well, the Canon R5 has been out for years now.
okay.
About the same time the Canon R5 came out, the Leica SL2S came out, or SL2s,
So
right?
is that the equivalent of like?
Yeah, I
Okay.
guess so. It's a mirrorless. They're both mirrorless.
Okay.
They're not the Big Daddy Pro cameras, but they're like more like the prosumer
Okay.
version. They're what they're
Is that
what
a real
like
term? Or did you make that up?
prosumer.
I
I
like
did
that.
not make it up.
I like
No, I
that
got
term.
it from someone.
Prosumer.
But yeah, prosumer. It's like the consumer
Yeah.
brand or the consumer level,
Yeah.
but you're not a professional photographer, but you're like the consumer, but you want the nicer
Yeah.
version, like your uncle at the wedding. He's
Yeah.
older, he may be in his 50s, he does some photography, and he can afford a nice camera, a
Yeah.
big camera with a nice lens. And so that's where you get that, like this this concept of Uncle Bob at the wedding having,
Yeah.
a lot of wedding photographers should have professional gear. And if you're not, then sometimes people at the wedding will have a nice camera, a nice lens, and they might think because they have this camera and lens that they can take photos just as good as yours, if not better,
Yeah. Well, it's like
because the gear.
I guess it's like
So
going
there's that.
to the if you go to Best Buy and you go like the down the line of TVs and you get to the end of the
Mm,
line, and it's like that's the top of
mhm.
the line for the prosumer, and then there's
Yeah.
the Magnolia room next door, like
Oh, okay.
right, which is like the dense and like super high end.
And you're
Uh,
paying 10 grand for a TV, right?
yeah, well, just the TV, and then like another
Yeah.
10-15 grand for the sound system. So
Right. Yeah, right. So
if that,
exactly. So
like,
that's exactly what
yeah,
it is. If you get the new Canon R1 or the Nikon Z9, those are the $6,000, $7,000 cameras or whatever, the higher end
okay,
professional. That's the best that they make for photography.
yeah,
Sony A1 Mark II, those are great. Again, another $5,000 or $6,000 for
yeah,
those cameras, and the corresponding lenses. So you got to get the best lenses, and
yeah.
each lens costs 1,500, 2 grand roughly per lens.
Well, I mean, when you're spending that much money, like,
Yeah.
you know, if you're getting stuff function, like you should be getting what you want, but like the best.
Mm.
If you're already
Yeah, and
spending that much,
you
like,
would think that, but I've found that with the Leica system, it's not quite there yet. They're behind the eight ball. They're behind Canon and Nikon for sure on a lot of stuff.
wow,
The
that's
image
crazy.
quality is fair. I'll give it that. And it's decent. It's definitely you can't take anything away from Leica's image quality. The
Yeah,
M10s are pretty good. The sensors are. Dynamic range is usually pretty good. All that ISO performance
yeah,
as of late is really good. Their new sensors and their new EVFs and all that, like the SL2 EVF was really good, arguably better than some of the competition. But the video wasn't there until recently. The autofocus wasn't there until recently. The battery life definitely sucks. I'll say that. I had to buy a second battery almost immediately
wow, that's terrible.
because I can shoot multiple days on the Nikon ZF with that battery. And I have two batteries for
Just a
the
stock
Nikon
battery.
too. But yeah, like I could shoot all day. When I went to Japan, I didn't have to charge a battery
Oh,
every
yeah.
every day.
And
I
we were
might,
going all over the place.
yeah, we were out all day. Now I
Yeah,
wasn't shooting all day, but I was definitely had the camera out all day. Now
yeah.
I don't think I could do that with a Leica with one battery. I wouldn't want to chance it.
Dang.
Two batteries, yeah, get me through the day, a full day, and then you're back to charging them both
But still,
at the hotel.
that's not very good. Like when you're spending that much
Nah,
money, that should have a
yeah.
much better battery in there.
Oh, and the batteries cost $200 a piece
That's insane.
to buy a new one from Leica.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Yeah,
Well,
I
so at
actually,
this
funny
point,
enough, I
it
have a
seems
new
like
M battery.
it's well, it seems like I think unless you got so much money to blow, it doesn't matter. Like
Yeah.
Canon and Nikon seem to be the way to go there.
Yeah, if you want, yeah, if you want great lenses, a reasonable price, yeah, then go there. But you're spending more. I mean, in some cases, you're spending double or triple to get a Leica M, or I mean the SL. Even if you buy a new
Yeah,
SL3, I think it's like 7 grand
yeah, but
or whatever.
it even seems like just even if I had the money, my best options are
Yeah.
still going to be Canon and Nikon. Like,
Right.
like
Yeah. So you can still spend 6 or 7 grand on a Canon, but you're going to get the top of the line Canon or Nikon.
yeah,
In the Leica system,
like
you're
that's
kind
it.
of on the lower end
Yeah,
because you may not know, but there's a Leica M, there's a Leica SLs, there's a Leica S system, which is a medium format, and there's a bunch of other cameras on the lower end, which are kind of like point and shoots. It's
hmm
called the QL or something like. I don't even know about those, like the
yeah,
Q, the QL. Those are more like fancy point and shoot cameras.
uh,
So really, the SL seems to fall somewhere in the middle,
okay,
maybe the middle to lower end, because you still have the M's and you still have the
yeah,
S's system in the Leica lineup,
okay.
and you're
What?
going to spend a lot more for those.
Yeah, and it just doesn't seem like even if I had the money, like it doesn't seem like it's
Yeah,
because
but it's
I don't like how they look. So already it's like why would I get that when it's I could get the Canon or Nikon equivalent and maybe lose something, but it's probably gonna be negligible. So like yeah, it just seems like that would be the way to go. Now before I do want to ask about Canon and Nikon specifically, but so the rangefinder thing, like it seems kind of frustrating, but what like who is that for? Who is that built for?
yeah. So I didn't I
Like
didn't really quite answer your question at
yeah.
first, but right, I really think it boils down to you're in the ecosystem of Leica. So you have
hmm
this German brand. A lot of it that everybody talks about is the process of taking photos. Like it's slow, deliberate, methodical,
Okay.
just like a film camera. So the rangefinder is supposed to harken back to the days when the rangefinder was it was their first and only camera. It was their main camera. They were doing rangefinder cameras way back in the what, probably 40s, 50s or
hmm
something. Definitely by the 60s.
now is this like kind of like when you're taking a picture with those wind up cameras, those Kodaks? Is that
Mm,
like a cheap
well, they were
equivalent to
way
that?
more solid back then. I mean, arguably, because I went to a camera store
No, I mean
in.
like remember the disposable ones because it
Oh
was
no,
just
they
a
didn't make those.
well, I just mean like the concept, like because you just kind of look through this little glass, but it's not really
No,
what's in the camera.
no. So the disposable cameras came along long after the Leica camera
Right.
was
Well,
originally.
yeah, but I'm thinking just like to trying to imagine what a rangefinder is doing. Like I know the disposable camera,
Oh, I
like
see. Yeah, okay, that is actually a
viewfinder
good
was
point.
yeah, so it's not like
You were,
what I'm
yeah,
taking a
you
picture
were,
of.
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So you're basically, I mean, you could say it like you have the fanciest point and shoot camera,
Okay.
disposable camera ever.
Okay.
Now there's, yeah, because you're looking through a window with frame lines, and the frame lines are basically framing what you would see with a 35, a 50, a 70, or a 90 mil lens. And it's basically like multiple rectangles in the viewfinder.
Okay.
And you got to remember, or your lens really, when attached, adjust the viewfinder to that frame line
Oh,
for that
that was
lens, if
gonna be my
that
next
makes any
question. Like,
sense.
how do you know when you have like a bigger lens on there? Like, what do
The
you?
coupling, yeah, the
Okay.
coupling of the uh, when calibrated properly,
It's
that's a whole other thing because
like
these apparently so
it's like
this is this
zeroing your
what
weapon.
yes, I don't understand this sort of this camera is like the most expensive, one of the most expensive cameras you can buy, and it gets knocked out of calibration. Seems like it's pretty easy to knock it out of calibration. So number one, it's expensive. it's not bulletproof. It and then some of the like half the technology isn't even up to date
Yeah.
or the top of the line because you're paying like the battery, for example. It's like you got a battery that might last you 300-400 shots. Well, any other battery from any other brand is going to get you maybe five or six, is going to get you to almost double some in some cases.
Well, I wonder if that's also because they're using like this older technology essentially.
Yeah, I think
Like the
so. I
battery,
mean, the
there's more for the
18650,
battery to do.
yeah, I think the 18650 or whatever's above that, the 2200 milliamp hour batteries, that's what's in the new SL3.
Yeah.
It's called the BP SL6 is the battery pack for the new SL3, and it's supposed to last longer. And I could actually buy a new battery pack for my SL2. I already bought two of the old versions, so
Oh,
I'm
okay.
good.
Okay.
But yeah, I think they use inside the battery pack itself, I think it uses two 18650 cells. I think. I'm
Okay.
not sure, but it's roughly going to be something like that. And maybe the software in the camera, because you're using an EVF, so
Yeah.
you basically have a screen on the whole time.
Okay.
So that's fair because the Nikon, if I left that screen on all the time, I'd be using a lot of battery
Yeah.
too. So, but still, it still seems like the Nikon battery lasts longer and I can get through a full day plus with the one battery, whereas the Leica, I'm definitely running out of battery before the end of the day.
Yeah. Well, because I'm wondering that kind of boils down to like there's more digital going on than
Mm.
analog or mechanical.
Yeah, so it's progressed. I mean, they basically took a film camera and the film camera style and they've turned it into a digital version, which is really neat. I always thought when I was shooting film back in early 2000s or mid 2000s, I was like, man, that'd be so cool if they just made these film cameras, but like a mirrorless version. And it took them until basically the Leica M, which was out of reach for most people, to get the same exact thing that I was dreaming back in the early
Ah, okay.
2000s. But now the ZF, the Nikon ZF,
Yeah.
is exactly that. That's basically what I had wished for, 15 years ago,
Yeah.
is a film camera, but it's digital and you could still use manual focus lenses. And that's exactly
Yeah.
what I have now.
So let's talk about the Canon and Nikon here because eventually
Nikon,
I want to get to, yeah, I want to get to the
you got to say it right.
yeah,
You're from Japan. So
Nikon.
Nikon,
Nikon.
Nikon, Nippon Kogaku.
Yeah, Nikon.
Nikon. Yeah,
Actually,
exactly.
probably just Nikon. Yeah,
Yeah.
because there's only one K in there. But yeah, so
Nihon.
eventually I want to get to the ZF there, the ZF1.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah. But so I know they're roughly equivalent there, but like so Canon versus Nikon, because I know you regularly shoot with both. So
Mm-hmm.
so what are your thoughts?
What are my
Like
thoughts?
is there a reason to go one versus the other?
I mean, I would say, I mean, so okay, so they're all really good, right? This is kind of what I was saying about Leica.
Yeah.
They're pretty good. Leica's not garbage. It's a great camera for a lot of ways. A lot of people like it because of it's heavy, it's quality feeling, it's taking you back to the film days in
Yeah.
some ways because of manual focus and all that. So there is a part of that. It's a German engineering thing. It's also expensive thing, kind of like having a Mercedes or having a Rolex or
Right.
something. It's like you spend money on the expensive car or a nice product and it's luxury.
Yeah.
That's kind of what. So if you, that's who it's for. That's who like it's for. It's for the older guy most likely. He probably shot film back in the day. He likes the process. There's maybe an allure or a mystique or some sort of elegance that goes along with it. The process again, back to
Yeah.
the process, the feel, the feeling you get. I mean, it's really important. But Nikon and Canon are so good and have been so good for years now. I just think that at this point, I mean, Canon might have the edge now with autofocus. Before, there was no question. 5 years ago, Canon had the best eye detect autofocus.
Okay.
Nikon sucked. Now, mirrorless, it changed the game. Almost all their cameras are mirrorless now. The software and the technology and their programming stuff has gotten so good that eye detect is almost flawless in both, right?
Yeah.
So you can get a Canon or Nikon. You're going to get really quality, sharp lenses that are sharp at any aperture. That wasn't always the case in years past.
Yeah.
And you're going to get a decent looking camera. I think aesthetically, they all look
Yeah.
decent.
Yeah. I think they kind of nailed that down now.
um, you may nitpick and say, well, this lens is better than this one, and what? Yeah, but truthfully, they're all great. The autofocus is amazing, and that's what I like about the newer mirrorless cameras is the ability to shoot with a low aperture, which is like it's hard to do with manual focus because the depth of field is so thin.
Okay. So what are
Photographers
you
know what
doing
that
with,
means.
yeah, what are we doing with
Uh,
low
Depth
aperture?
of field is the sliver of area that is in focus. So when you see a picture and there's a blurry background,
Hmm.
that's what you're seeing an example of what a shallow depth of field looks like. So
Ah, okay. I can understand that.
if you see a picture where everything is focused, like a landscape picture,
Yep.
typically those are small aperture photos because everything's in focus.
Okay.
How this happens optically, I don't know exactly. It just does, but there's an aperture inside the camera lens that opens and closes.
Okay.
And I can send you a picture, an example of one of those if you want.
Yeah, sure. I'll pull it up
But
on the screen.
I'll shoot it. I'll shoot it over to you.
Yeah.
But yeah, that determines what's in focus. Basically,
Okay.
there's a way that happens, but pretty much that's it. So what it does in practice is you can shoot with these really fast lenses now, and you can get like the eye in focus. So when you're doing portraits, and
Right.
this was the thing before, where with the regular autofocus system 5-10 years ago, you were taking multiple shots, hoping that you got close or bang on, and a lot of times with the really shallow depth of field, you would miss the eye. You might catch the nose, you might catch the ear, and
Oh, yeah. So it
it's
accidentally gets a different point of focus.
yeah. And because the plane of focus is so thin at I mean, and you're doing a portrait, so you may be 10 feet away from the person, but what is actually in sharp focus is so slim that now these mirrorless cameras and their autofocus systems will lock onto the eye, the closest eye, not even the wrong eye. It'll lock onto the closest eye, and it will get perfect focus almost every time. So that the picture that you have up
There we go.
now is a film camera that I have. That's a film camera from the 80s with a 85 millimeter 1.2 lens, the Canon L lens of that era, and the aperture is closed down. So there's little blades in there, open and close. So that hole is either small or bigger. It
Oh,
will
okay.
open up completely to let all the light in. But basically what you're seeing, and you can see now that the stars and stripes in the background are blurred out, but that aperture blade's in focus, right?
Yeah, yeah.
That's kind of what I mean. Is that's a shallow depth of field, which means you got to be very selective about what you have in focus
Ah, okay,
because
okay.
obviously that draws your eye in,
Well,
right?
that's really cool to see. Like, I imagine this took a bit of a patience to get this photo.
Yeah, I had to definitely took me about 5 seconds to line everything up and
Yeah,
frame it right because I have the flag in the background and the camera lens there, and
yeah.
the light's reflecting from my overhead light, and you can see the aperture blades clearly and stuff. So there, but yeah. Anyway, yeah, but that's kind of what the aperture does. It'll open and close, and it
Yeah.
lets more or less light in. But also a byproduct of that is the other areas outside of what's in focus is either more or less blurry.
Ah, okay, okay.
So the way the aperture is there that you can see, that's more like f22, f16,
Yeah.
something like that.
Was
And you
it
could take a landscape shot and everything's in focus
is
from foreground to background.
isn't that the same mechanics of like an actual eyeball? Like
Yeah, the
like the
eye will
eye,
do the same
your
thing. Yeah,
pupil, right? Like
dilate. Yeah,
yeah.
your pupil will dilate exactly to let in more or less light.
Wow, that's interesting that that's just the way that light works, I guess.
Yeah, it is pretty interesting that we're seeing a mechanical version of
Yeah,
what
this is
biology
what a robot's
does.
going to look like, an AI
Yeah,
walking
well, man,
around.
imagine. Yeah, so you think technology is advanced now, but we in our human bodies, we have arguably a much more advanced biological technology
Oh yeah, for sure.
that's doing all this stuff. And not only is it doing it, but it's like there's stuff that we do that's unconscious, like
Yeah,
breathing or pupils dilating or
yeah.
your skin flushing when you're
Well,
embarrassed and stuff. Like you don't have
you
control over that.
all those dirty thoughts that just pop in there. You're like, I was that
Erections,
wasn't me.
yep. Erections,
Yeah.
yeah. Deadly erections at the Capitol.
Yeah. When
Donald
back in high
John
school, you
Trump.
gotta like that's what geography books are for, to like cover the direction as you're walking down the hallway.
Put your backpack in front.
Yeah. Like,
Oh man. Yeah, so yeah, it's interesting. But yeah, so okay, so I don't think there's a preference, but who would buy a lot of times people will buy a Canon or Nikon because they have brand loyalty. And they're
okay.
like, I've
Well,
always shot
I get
Canon.
that. Especially because
I
like
want to keep
equipment,
shooting.
right? Like,
Yeah. You may be invested in the
yeah.
lenses. Like for example, I've shot Nikon. I actually still have a Nikon. I shot a D810 for a couple of years. I have a Nikon ZF right now. I really like that for what it is, but
Yeah,
I've kind of
I think
fallen in
that's
love
probably a
with the
good
Leica.
travel camera as you're
Yeah.
using it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. You grab a couple small lenses like I had for it, the Voigtlander ones, manual
Yeah.
focus, and you're back to that film process where you got to think of every photo
Yeah.
and be deliberate in your actions and slow down instead of just pointing, just spray and pray or you know
Yeah.
pointing and shooting like and firing off a bunch of uh, images, so to speak. But yeah, each one is planned out, and
Imagines.
you're yeah images. I was gonna say shots, but it's not the same as like rounds.
Loads. Busted
Loads.
loads.
Yeah, but yeah. So I would say there's diehard Nikon fans. There's
Those
diehard Canon
dicons.
fans. Diehard. Yeah. But yes, in some cases, I think you could argue for one camera or the other. But they're all so good now.
Yeah.
And unless you're really, I mean, the average photographer is going to be fine with anything they get nowadays,
Yeah.
especially in the mid to pro level range. All those cameras are fantastic. Even the cheap ones, the low end ones, I mean, they're still
Yeah.
good. And you could give you're okay. So here, there's a challenge. There's this YouTube channel used to be on. It's I think disbanded now, but it was called Digital Rev TV, and there was a guy on there named Kai Wong, and he's like sounds like he's British, but he's like I I actually don't know where he's from. He may be
Okay.
Japanese,
Okay.
but anyway, he was the host
Well,
of the show,
Wong was
and
that
Kai Wong.
or
It was called
Chinese?
Digital Rev TV. It was on YouTube, and I watched them for years. But he would review cameras and lenses, and he was kind of cheeky and funny and stuff. And he has his own. He has gone his own way now and has his own channel, and he still does the same thing. But yeah, like I forget where I was going with this.
Cheaper cameras that are still good, or
Yeah, okay. So he
yeah.
did this thing, and he's not the only one that's done it, but he did pro photographer cheap camera, and then you go give a pro camera to someone who's like barely a photographer.
Yeah.
Well, it usually works out that the pro photographer will still make great images even with a cheap camera.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So that means that you don't need all that expensive stuff to make great images. However, it really helps a lot
Yeah.
to have the
Yeah.
best gear,
Yeah.
But if you had a cheap camera and one crappy lens, so here's another thing. Ken Rockwell is another famous photographer.
Okay.
He shot Nikon for professionally probably for 20 years, I think. But he does a lot of camera reviews now, and he lives in I think California. He had a website, and I got this from him. So he says the most important things in a composition that makes a pleasing composition. Well, so okay, so the most important things in your photo are your lighting and composition. So that has nothing to do with the camera and the lens that you're shooting to
Right.
some
So
extent.
the more lighting you have, is that where you're going?
Well,
Or
it's
the
not
more
necessarily
light
more
you
lighting,
have?
but yeah, lighting and composition are what makes a
Okay.
good photo.
Oh, I understand. Okay, yeah. Like
Yeah,
that's
lighting
what's
and
going to make the photo
composition.
pop in a certain way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, what people will do, I say this is the icing on the cake, is if you can incorporate shallow depth of field, then that's great. But you don't have to have it to make a good photo because lighting and composition are its own categories, and you can add depth of field as part of the composition.
Okay.
But you see in this case, so the picture, not this picture, I mean maybe this one, but the other one with the lens and
The what the one
whatever.
that's just a lens or which one?
Yeah, just the lens or something.
Okay.
You might say, because I lit that with a lamp basically to get,
This one.
light. It's not maybe not ideal lighting, but um, and this isn't like a composition or anything amazing, but you could tell that it was lit from a certain direction.
Right. Yeah.
And the reason why I had the lamp is to basically give reflections on the lens surface, which is all those colors that you see
Okay.
right on the top. Right. So I wanted, some little bit of contrasting light, but I wanted soft light, and then I wanted the colors to show up on the lens. So like that's kind of was my desired outcome with that.
Yeah.
Is it award winning? No.
That
But
looks cool though.
can you see the detail? I probably shot it at f2, something shallow again. If I was doing studio or product pictures, I would probably shoot at f8 and get the whole thing in focus. And then that's where the lighting would come in a little more because I'd probably go with harsher light to
Right.
show the
So
details of
yeah,
the lens.
because right now like the focus is kind of in the center line versus the top and the bottom.
Yeah, you should be able to read the text. I think that 35 might be a little blurry, but the spherical is in focus.
Yep. I can see that. The bottom one was that uh,
What number?
mighty something.
Might
I can't read the bottom there.
it's upside down, but it should say
Oh,
Voigtlander because that's the brand of the lens.
that's why maybe that's why I'm trying to read it upside down, like an
Yeah, it says
idiot.
Voigtlander, Nocton, 35,
Okay.
1.2. It's spherical. So that's the describing the lens, the focal length, the aperture, and the spherical describes the shape of the internal lens uh, element. One or two of them are
Okay.
spherical, so
So it's
those help
I'm
with
guessing it's because the lens has some kind of like concave or shape to it, where it's like
yeah.
acting
It
like a
has
prism here, where it's
it
like
has
making
eight
making the
or
colors
seven
happen.
or eight elements. Yeah, so there's elements within the lens. There's
Okay.
different so the lens, yeah, it's called a lens, but if you did a cross section of the lens, you might see different lens elements in there, and there might be seven or
Hmm.
eight or nine in there,
Oh, that's
and
right.
one or
When
two of
we went to
those.
that Canon store, we saw the
Yeah,
inside of that. Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So yeah, photographers know what that is. If you're not a photographer, then maybe for awareness, just maybe look it up, how things are made, how things work, how cameras work, stuff like that.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a matter of like if you're already interested in it, you're gonna go down that road anyway. Like if you're not interested, but like you're obsessed with it. Um,
Yeah,
but if I think like starting out, like if you're trying to get into it, I think it's interesting to look into because that might be the stuff that sparks you and makes it a obsession. It's like it's kind of like if you just stick at the surface level of here's a camera, and this lens gets me closer, so I can take these kinds of pictures that are like you might enjoy taking pictures, but you're not. It's not going to become a real hobby for you. I think.
yeah. Well, there was somehow, I mean, and I waited how long to get into photography?
Yeah, it was, and it was. What'd you say? Like it was a matter of like asking you, hey. you know anything about this?
I didn't start out as a in middle school and being interested in
Yeah,
photography, but
yeah. But I can see
yeah.
why.
So
Like now, like because it is basically it's not a car, but the same kind of. There's a lot of function and things
mm,
going on. So
yeah, I think I like that part of the of the process. So I do like the process of film because I still shoot film occasionally, and I have some really cool pictures I just got back from cherry blossom season
hmm,
where I took a film camera out with a couple
yeah,
lenses, and I went alongside my digital photos and took not shot for shot similar, but
hmm,
like I spent 20-30 minutes taking digital photos, and I spent another 15-20 minutes taking similar photos with a film camera. And I I think it's a neat process. I think it is slow and methodical, and I think the film renders the image very specifically compared to digital. Because digital, you have a lot of flexibility with a raw file, but
hmm.
film is what it is. Once you
Oh yeah,
process it,
that's it. Yeah,
it's kind of locked in. But it has very unique colors and stuff. So
yeah,
I don't. That's the part I think I like the most about that.
yeah. I think I do like as a consumer like to look at things that are clearly on film.
Mm.
And I think movies are actually still a good example of this. So
Yeah.
there's a graininess that you get from movies from the 90s and 80s that you just
Hmm.
do not get these days because everything's digital. And I
Yeah.
don't think it looks as good. I like the grain from the older films, and maybe not like pictures. It's kind of I do still like the older stuff, but I don't care as much. But when it comes to movies, like I actually do care. Like
Mm.
I
Yeah.
miss that grit look of a like a 90s film, and every
It
once in a
has
while they get it right, and then you find out, oh, it's because they used an older camera. That's why.
yeah.
So
Well, what is a recent movie that was shot on an older camera or film stock or something with older
um
lenses? Because it wasn't Aliens. That was definitely one that
oh
was
yeah,
shot on film.
yeah, yeah.
And
The I think the one
yeah,
I know for sure was but he shot on like 70 millimeter that uh was that Quentin Tarantino Crazy Eights or something like not Crazy
mm,
Eights
was it 8 mm?
Hateful Eight or something. I think it was
Okay. Huh.
70 millimeter film or something like that. It was like what they shot back in the old westerns.
Mm,
So
yeah,
he used that kind of film, which has an even different kind of look to it. I think
yeah.
in particular the 80s and 90s had that special grain. So they probably were using basically just like an advanced version of that.
Well, there's
So
definitely a character that the film will give
yeah,
because the way it will render the scene, the dynamic range, I always thought was good for highlights.
yeah,
Because you could take a digital picture of a contrasty scene, which basically means there's a dark part and a light part. Well, with the film camera, you could you could get more detail in the light part. It just seemed like it handled highlights
mm,
pretty well. The shadows, though, and this is what people would say, digital, you expose for the highlights. Film, you expose for the shadows.
uh,
Because for whatever reason, it just tended towards handling highlights better,
yeah,
right? But there's a picture I took while we were on vacation in the Bahamas, and Devin. We compared later when we got our film back and digital. But Devin was taking a picture of somebody in front of the beach, and the beaches, of course, are
yeah,
really bright, lit by the sun, and they're standing underneath the awning in the shadows. They're dark. Well, his digital camera will try and make the best out of the scene, and then I had my film back from that, and then we compared, and I was like, "Wow, look at this!" Like the film totally got everything exposed pretty well. Plus, the background wasn't all blown out,
yeah.
like overexposed. And I was like, "Man!" So that was the first time I saw, and this was back in 2010,
Mm,
I believe, where I saw shot for shot
Yeah.
a comparison. I was like, oh, well, the film actually handles the highlights pretty well. It
Yeah.
doesn't blow them out like digital does.
Well, I think a good comparison, maybe it's not a great comparison because they use so much CGI these days that it's, I think that was part of the appeal was, but Predator, I think even the newer ones, maybe the close-ups of the creature might be like a thing or not. I'd have to look it up, but like, they don't look as cool, but it's still. I was like, okay, I get like that might be an actual person in a suit. But the way that the film quality looks, the original Predator looks so much better. Like it just looks gritty and grainy, and it's like I don't know. I think digital. Maybe I just have to get used to it, but it feels real fake to me. Like when Blu-ray first came out and it was like everything was so crisp. Like that was really hard for me to like get used to. And now like I'm pretty used to it, but if I see something that's like a remake or like a sequel or something, or now prequels, they always have to, they can't make anything new. So they're gonna like, oh, let's make it before. It's like, but so when they do those, like that's when I notice like, oh, this doesn't look good. Like it would if I didn't see the past. Like, it's like I have something to compare it to, and it's not the same. Like Alien is good, but those are really dark movies, and Predator's like pretty bright a lot of the times. So I think that's a good comparison to like the old and the new. But yeah, so watch the old original Predator, and then watch like Prey. I think would probably be the it's not a good movie. I don't think it is, but it's better than the other ones. So like I really don't like it, but it's definitely better than the other one.
You're saying because of what it's shot on, the film?
No, just that, but the story I don't like it either.
Yeah.
It's closer to the original kind of like stuff, but it's not well done, I don't think. They show the Predator like way too soon, and it kind of has the feel like they didn't need to do that. Like they kind of had a thing going where it's like, okay, it's similar to the first one, but then they show the Predator like pretty early, and it's like, oh well, now you just fucked it up.
There's no build up.
Yeah, and it's like, I get it. We all know what Predator is already, but
now
you don't. It doesn't matter. Like you can still have that build up. Like so
maybe the new whoever's controlling all that says, yeah, well, people just don't have the attention span they did.
Yeah, they don't know what the hell they're talking about. I think they're lying to themselves.
The original Predator, right? You didn't see, it was like 20 minutes or so.
Yeah, it was a long time. Yeah.
Because they had gone through the jungle, shit had happened, people were disappearing. You're like, what is taking these people away?
Well, the original cut, like I think I want to say in the theater, you didn't. There's a beginning of the movie now. If you watch it, there you see the spaceship and then it launches the Predator. But I think that in the theater it didn't have that, or originally.
Really?
And so you got launched in this movie of like, oh, it's an action movie, and all of a sudden you're like, wait, what the hell is this thing chasing them? And then it turns into this like sci-fi movie all of a sudden. And so it's kind of like two different movies that happen. And I think that's a much better version because you slowly get pieces of the Predator. So first you get like the noises in the background, but you don't know that that's what it is yet. And then you start, then you get the vision, and then you get like the hand and the laughing and all like the weird, crazy things.
The hand, you're like, oh shit.
Yeah. You're like, oh, that's not human.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And then eventually, like you, at the same time that Arnold sees, you see it. So, so that's
kind of cool the way they line that up. Because it's like you're there.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
oh, now we're all seeing it.
Yeah.
at the same time. Like you don't. I
Yeah.
mean, you get to see the hand, like you said.
Yeah, yeah.
You get to see the vision,
Yeah.
the infrared or whatever
And
heat signature.
yeah, the other great thing about that movie is like if you cut out the beginning so you don't know there's an alien involved
Hmm.
right at the start, then you go into this movie going like, wow, these guys are badass. They're like the best of the best. And then
Mm-hmm.
this one thing is like taking them out one by one. And now
Yeah,
you're
that's
like,
where you.
oh shit, okay, now they're up against
Yeah,
something serious here.
yeah, the hunter. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, becomes the hunted. Yeah,
yeah, that's
and then
crazy.
like it does have like that nice twist at the end where it's like, okay, now Predator's up against something he's never been up against before. You know, it's like the
Hmm.
human backed into the corner, essentially.
Yeah.
You know, and actually that's the same thing with like I can't remember where I heard this, but there was like a story of like somebody watching their cat like chase a mouse, and
Hmm.
then when the mouse got into a corner, it turned around and like reared at the
Yeah.
cat, and then the cat ran away. And it's like, you know, that's essentially like what's happening in Predator. Is like, you know, they're going after all these people, and all of a sudden it's like now something's chasing them, like, oh shit. And then the Predator finally gets him in a corner, and he's like, fuck it. It's like, I'm gonna fight this thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're
That's
one
yeah, it's such a great
ugly
movie. I'm dedefinitely gonna do a
mother.
live one of that, but I'm also gonna do a regular hard on review on it because I think that'll be funny.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, I think that's probably good, man. We're almost like 3 hours. That's
What?
crazy.
Time flies.
Yeah, I didn't even
And we didn't even
realize.
talk about PT.
I know. Yeah, we'll have to do that next time.
Woo.
I lied, I
That'll be
guess,
a
at the
whole
beginning.
other. Yeah.
um,
Well, there's definitely a lot to discuss, I guess.
yeah, so I guess we'll save those for next time.
Cameras, and I wonder if anybody listening is like, yeah, no, that's guy's got a pretty good take on cameras, but I don't know.
Well, I think when I split it up,
Hopefully.
yeah, when I split it into the shorter clip, I think you'll get more hits on it because I'll be able to market it directly as a camera thing. So
Yeah. Well, anyway,
yeah,
I hope it caused some controversy because
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I think it will.
I wasn't the biggest, going through the experience of having the camera, and I haven't had it too long, but still, it was just like some of the stuff isn't up to par with Nikon or Canon. Some of the battery
Yeah,
whatever. I think the Photos app's pretty cool, but I don't use those anyway for
yeah.
the other cameras. There's apps on your phone you can connect, but yeah, I kind of think that
I think
you
that's
just
you know what
you're
I
getting
go ahead.
yeah you're getting a decent camera. Maybe not everything's top of the line, but I think for the price it should be personally.
Yeah,
So yeah, I don't know how they're squaring that, or logically that makes sense for them, unless they're just cashing in on the name
yeah,
brand and the loyalty, because the brand loyalty is a big deal. If you
yeah,
shoot Leica, some people will shoot nothing else.
yeah.
They're like, oh, that's it. That's all I shoot. Now that I shoot Leica, that's it.
Well, you know, I'd
But
be
I think they're gonna make a lot of excuses.
yeah,
Honestly.
yeah. I'd be curious as the like because of the way they design that, like how that would do with like trying to take a picture of like the Milky Way or something like that. Like, would it be better
Mm,
on a camera like a like a
like
Leica?
I think, well, so astrophotography kind of boils down to a couple things, which Leica has great lenses.
Hmm.
Are they overpriced for what you get? Again, in my opinion, I think that the lenses aren't what they used to be.
Hmm.
Maybe. Now, I haven't handled a bunch of older Leica lenses, but I have been around a couple and they felt pretty solid to me. Like here's what I noticed. The old cameras that are made of brass and the old lenses, those feel solid like a tank, man.
Yeah,
The new stuff is getting lighter and cheaper, and I'm just guessing they're going the way of many other things, and that is they got to cut costs. And
yeah,
the truth is, the people that remember the cameras from the 50s, 60s, and 70s, well, those guys, they're going to be, they're, they're not going to be living for this next generation.
Yeah.
So the people that are getting into Leica now are in their 30s,
Yep.
and they grew up
They don't know any better.
with a disposable plastic camera.
Yeah.
So to them, the Leica feels amazing. It's
Yeah.
solid. It's well
It's
built.
heavier.
It's German engineered. Yeah, it's heavier.
Yeah.
It's
And
heavier than a Canon.
And it cost me 10 grand. Boom.
Yeah, it cost me. Yeah, look at me.
Yeah.
If you got a Porsche, you got a Rolex, and you got a Leica,
Yeah.
and
Like how much
you ride a Ducati.
how much your car cost? Yeah, that's my camera.
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like your motorcycle. Sometimes people spend 10 grand on a bike, and
Yeah.
you spend on the camera. But yeah, and that's fine. To each their own. But
Yeah.
so for astrophotography, you can get a fast quality lens from Nikon or Canon and shoot high ISO, because that's another aspect that to capture the stars without getting star trails, you
Yeah.
got to have you got to be able to take in a lot of light fast, and that means the wide up aperture. So like a 24 millimeter
Yeah.
or 21 or 16, just get a wide lens, 2.8 or better, and the aperture to let light in, and then you got to be at like ISO,
Dang.
I don't know, 6400 or higher. I don't know. I don't really do a lot of that late night stuff.
I wonder if it's better just to get a telescope that has a camera on it. Like, because I think you can do that.
Like, yeah, for zooming in on stuff specifically, there's killer photographers out there that are doing just that, and they have amazing shots.
Yeah, because Pat has a pretty big telescope, and I was considering, like, maybe next time I go down there to, like, if I think he was looking to get rid of it. It's like, man, I would totally like pop that in the back of the truck and go out west and hit the Grand Canyon up with that thing. I think that'd be awesome.
Yeah, so
because I eventually,
you could probably put a camera on there. You can probably adapt the camera to that too. Yeah,
I think you can. And because I was thinking about,
remember, we did that before.
Yeah, we did with the
moon. Yep. In your backyard.
Yeah, and that came out pretty good, actually. Like, fortunately that's a bright object, but because I was thinking about doing because I could probably get a relatively cheap camper top, and just make a little, seal it up and make it a little camper out of it.
Oh man, yeah. There's YouTube channels that do that same thing, and they have pretty good tips on how to get power and air conditioning back there in auxiliary mode and stuff.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, if it's summer, you're sweating.
Yeah.
And if it's winter, then you're cold. So
it's
kind of like you got to charge your phone and get a fan going or something.
Yeah, I don't mind so much the winter. It's funny. I think it might have to do with all that time out on in Hohenfels in Germany, like, and doing our little field exercises for like weeks, months, even. Like, it was like freezing cold, and like now I'm just like, it's fine. Like,
oh yeah.
If you have a good sleeping bag, like it doesn't matter. Like.
Yeah. Did you sleep underneath the track? Did you ever do that by the
okay. Yeah, because they're not. I didn't sleep back there, but you definitely would hang out back there to get like warmed up there. But they're like some of the engineers would have like the little what is that? What's that scooper thing in the front? What do they call those? Like
the front end loader, the bucket.
Yeah. So you just like. You could like sleep on that thing and like put it in an area that's warm. But my track actually, so we had the 577s, and was it M577? I think, yeah. So the talk vehicles. So it's just basically it's a really slow track vehicle with a
box.
What's it?
Back.
What is it?
Is that what you're talking about?
What is
Did
it?
it have a box on the back?
Yeah. So,
With all the equipment.
and it's
Yeah.
laterals for steering.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have like a steering wheel. It's just like little lateral pull the right one back, and it essentially brakes, and then it turns right that way.
Yeah.
And so mine. So you have 4 in the talk, and they back up to each other, and then you put the tents, connect the tent like to each track, and then you have like one big tent essentially. And my track was the only one that had the working heater in it. So so even though like that's kind of like where I had the setup, that's kind of where everybody was like rotating out to get warm in, because it was the only one that had a heater in it.
Damn.
All the others were broken, and we couldn't get them fixed. Yeah. And so there's just be like 8 dudes piloting this thing, like sleeping in the track. Meanwhile, we do have tents though. Like we have, like, but it was just so cold. Like they're just like, fuck that. Like just went in the track.
GPs, right? Medium, probably.
Yeah.
Small, or did you have like how many people were out there?
There's quite a bit. So that because we're doing as a battalion. So
large. Did you have the big tents?
Well, no.
Usually they get a heater and they just put it right in the door.
Yeah. So in the talk we had additional heaters there, but as far as like vehicles, mine was the only one that had like the heater in there. And then in the tents, we just had like just a regular 4-man, 2-man tents, depending on what you had there. But I like with the sleeping bag, you're basically okay. I think the fact that you have to have your kind of face like a little bit so you can breathe, like that's really the only problem. And once you fall asleep though, it's fine. But you have to take all your, like, basically all your clothes, you just put them in the bottom of your sleeping bag. Because when you wake up and you got to put on like cold clothes and like cold boots, it's the fucking worst.
Yeah, the good old days, huh?
Yeah.
But look, you went through that process.
Yeah.
And think about going through the military is kind of amazing, because you get to go through some shit that people will pay to go through some of that stuff.
Right,
nowadays.
Survivor, like all these things.
Yeah, because you're in a real situation, or you're wargaming, and you get to experience really cold stuff. You get to experience the adrenaline rush of operations, and like what it means to go through the steps, and you're fighting the OP4 and whatever, you're using land nav, you're using your equipment. It's like how else do you get that experience? You don't anywhere.
It's all collaborative too, so like you're a part of a unit, like real like in so it's not like just in name. And it's like,
it's not a video game.
Yeah, so it's like I'm sitting across from the so we got the big map in the middle, and so the S3 is on one side, S2 I'm on the other side. And it's where I'm on the radio, with the mortars for like fire missions and things like that. And they're on the other side talking to their people, and we're also talking to each other at the same time. And it's like it was really interesting. So like talk about multitasking. It's like hearing the radio in one ear and hearing what everybody's saying in the other ear, and and I'm taking notes, and
So you were calling for fire, basically, is what you're saying?
Fire mission.
Oh, okay.
And then everybody in the talk gets together when you're doing that. They have these little overlays of like splash zones, and it's like, okay, they put them on the map and then see where it's going to hit, essentially. And then you officially get your splash, so meaning you're hit, and then you get the report. Like, okay, what adjustments do we need to make? Do we need to, hit it again? And that's kind of how it works. So it's like a back and forth, and you're constantly moving your splash marker, to see, like, make sure you're not hitting your own people, for obviously fratricide, but also like was it accurately given, and or do we need to make adjustments? So because you got a guy in the ground with a map, and he's like calling it in based on the features and things like that, and usually they're pretty close, but often you'll have like a slight adjustment afterwards.
Yeah, so your artillery guides are probably pretty accurate though.
Yeah, like whatever coordinates they're given, most likely they're going to hit it. They may or may not have to make slight adjustments, but I'd say mostly that's probably on your actual like coordinates versus the mortars or your artillery people.
Yeah,
more than likely, I think that's probably you're making adjustments based on the line of sight, not the actual firing.
Yeah, that's pretty neat.
Yeah, it's really cool. Like I think
not duplicated very much on the outside. Huh?
No, I guess maybe you could say something like the stock market, because of how they communicate with each other.
Yeah,
as best I know, I don't really understand it, but it seems like that's similar as far as like the way they need to communicate.
Analytical tools, strategies,
and they they got the ticker going across, and there's a lot going on in there.
Oh, that's their message traffic, right?
Yeah.
Basically,
yeah.
Here's your here's your info.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, that process of IPB is pretty interesting, and you can apply that to a lot of things, I guess.
Yeah.
I think principally it can be used or, applied to different things.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think that's like a big part of it is like all the things that you've done. How how can you make them useful for the thing you're doing right now?
Mm-hmm.
And I always try to think about that. So.
Well, with that being said, are you ready to hang it up?
Yeah, I think so. We're probably a good place to close up here. Let me go ahead and close out the live stream, and then we'll close off the Zoom call here. But yeah, thanks for stopping by, hanging out with us, and talking about the manly stuff, car maintenance, and cameras. And in the meantime, till we get on here again, don't let your meatloaf.
Mailman podcast coming to you. Man coming to you. Talking about Minnesota internet. If you don't like it, you can go to hell. Mailman podcast coming to you.